Picture a hand closed tightly around a fistful of sand. The knuckles are white, the pressure immense. But look closer. Between the fingers, fine grains escape in a steady stream. The more you squeeze, the faster it drains away. The more you try to hold on, the more you are left with nothing. This is the paradox of a mind that cares too much. This is the exhaustion of trying to control the uncontrollable. Your thoughts, the opinions of others, the shifting tides of tomorrow, the cold weight of yesterday, they are all sand slipping through the desperate grip of your attention. You feel it, don't you? A weariness that sleep cannot cure. A mind that runs even when the body is still. It is the weight of 1,000 trivial concerns. The echo of a comment made in passing, the low hum of anxiety for a future that has not yet asked for your worry. The ghost of a past you cannot rewrite. Your inner world has become a cluttered room, filled with furniture that does not belong to you. Every corner is occupied by the expectations of others, the noise of the world, the debris of information you never asked for. And in this crowded space, there is no room left for you, no silence, no peace. You have cared so much about so many things that you have forgotten what it feels like to simply be. But what if, for this moment, you could step outside that room? What if, right now, you could give yourself permission to not have an opinion, permission to let the world spin without your constant supervision, permission to release the heavy burden of caring about everything all at once? Let these words be a doorway. Step through it. Here, in this space, we do not add, we subtract, we do not build, we clear away. This is not a journey to find something new, but to uncover what has always been there, buried beneath the sand. This is the beginning of learning to open your hand, to care less, and in doing so, to finally gain everything that matters. There is a weight you carry that has no name and no form. It is the invisible burden of concern, the silent mandate to have an opinion on all things. A new crisis unfolds across the globe, and you feel the pull to understand it, to dissect it, to form a judgment. A debate ignites on the screen in front of you, and an inner compulsion arises, demanding you choose a side, equip yourself with arguments, and stand ready for a battle that is not yours to fight. This is not mere curiosity. Curiosity is light, it is expansive, it seeks to learn. This is heavier, this is a demand. It is the low, persistent hum of the world insisting that your silence is a failing, that your lack of a defined stance is an abdication of some unspoken duty. You have been convinced that a worthy mind is a busy mind, an engaged mind, a mind that buzzes with the frequency of the collective. And so, you carry the weight. You collect concerns like stones in your pocket, feeling their heft, mistaking the drag for a sense of purpose. Let us look at this compulsion honestly. It is not born of a noble desire to mend the world. It is born of a primal fear. It is the ego's desperate attempt to assert its own existence. In the vast, indifferent quiet of the cosmos, the ego trembles. It fears being a void, a nothingness, and so it latches onto the noise. To have an opinion is to draw a line in the sand and declare, I am here, I am on this side of the line, I see, I judge, I participate, therefore I am. The thought of saying, I don't know, or more radically, I do not need to know, feels like a small death. It feels like consenting to your own irrelevance. We have been taught to confuse engagement with significance. We believe that to be unplugged is to be unimportant. To be silent is to be simple. To be uninformed is to be unintelligent. And so the ego, in its frantic bid for survival, pushes you to care. It tells you to consume, to react, to have a take, to post a comment, to join the fray. It promises you a sense of belonging, a place in the great, noisy theater of human affairs. But all it delivers is exhaustion. It is a hollow victory, won at the cost of your own inner peace. This is the great conflict, the silent war waged within you. There is a part of you, a deep, and ancient part that yearns for stillness. It longs for the quiet meadow of the mind, a space where the wind blows free of breaking news and angry voices. It craves the simple, profound reality of your own breath, your own heartbeat, the solid ground beneath your feet. This part of you knows that your true essence is not built from borrowed opinions or second-hand outrage. It knows that wisdom is not the accumulation of information, but the clearing away of it. Yet, as this quiet self whispers for peace, the other self, the conditioned self, screams in protest. "You cannot stop now," it insists. "You will be left behind. The world will move on without you. They will think you are apathetic, ignorant, a fool. Your silence will be mistaken for complicity. Your stillness will be seen as weakness." This voice is loud, for it is the voice of fear. It is the voice of the herd, terrified of the one who dares to walk away from the stampede. And you are caught in the crossfire, torn between a desperate need for rest and a desperate fear of being judged for taking it. Now, let a new thought enter this battlefield. Let it land not as a weapon, but as a single point of light. Your value as a human being is not measured by the sheer quantity of things you can bring yourself to care about. It is not a test of your capacity for endless concern. Your true value, your power, lies in the deliberate, focused, and profound depth of the few things you consciously choose to give your heart to. The world does not need another frantic, shallow opinion. It does not need another mind cluttered with the anxieties of the hour. What the world needs, what you need, is a soul that has cultivated its own garden, a mind that has found its own center. The ultimate act of rebellion in a world that demands your constant attention is to reclaim it for yourself. It is to decide, with quiet authority, that your inner world is sacred ground, and not every passing headline is worthy of admission. This is not apathy. It is the highest form of discernment. It is the beginning of true power. Imagine a tree, not a sapling, but a great old tree. Imagine it in a storm. The wind howls, the rain lashes down. Now, picture two ways this tree could respond. In the first, the tree becomes frantic. It tries to catch every single drop of rain. Its leaves tremble, its branches stretch thin and wide, desperately trying to interact with every element of the storm. It is a frenzy of reaction. The tree is everywhere at once, engaged with the chaos, and in doing so, its energy is scattered, its strength diluted. It becomes a servant to the storm. Now picture the second way. The tree stands still. Its leaves may flutter, its smaller branches may sway, but its core is unmoved. It is not concerned with catching every drop of rain because it knows its life does not come from the fleeting storm on the surface. Its life comes from its roots, sunk deep into the quiet, nourishing darkness of the earth. It draws its strength from a source that the storm cannot touch. This tree is not apathetic to the storm. It is simply anchored in a deeper reality. Its power comes not from its frenetic reaction, but from its profound connection to its own source. You have been taught to be the first tree. I am asking you to remember how to be the second. To begin this journey, you must learn to starve the part of you that feeds on noise. Undertake a small, radical experiment. Practice an information fast. For one morning, just one, make a conscious choice. Do not reach for your phone. Do not turn on the television. Do not open the news feed. For the first hour of your day, deny your mind its habitual dose of external static. At first, it will feel like a hunger. You will feel a twitch in your fingers, an itch in your brain. The silence will feel loud, uncomfortable. You will feel that you are missing something vital. The fear of being left behind will knock at your door. Let it knock. Do not answer. Simply sit with the discomfort. Breathe. Feel the air in your lungs. Drink a glass of water and feel it travel through your body. Look out the window and see the world as it is, without a filter of commentary or analysis. And then, notice what happens. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the inner static will begin to subside. The frantic buzzing will quiet down. And in that emerging quiet, a new space will open up, a space that is yours. You will realize that the world did not fall apart because you were not watching it. The great machine of events did not grind to a halt because you withheld your opinion. You were not essential to the chaos, but you are essential to this newfound peace. You have taken the first step in reclaiming your own mind. This is not a retreat from the world. It is an act of profound self-respect. It is the understanding that a scattered mind cannot truly help anyone, least of all itself. It is the recognition that to offer anything of true value, a creative idea, a moment of genuine connection, a compassionate act, you must first draw from a well that is deep and clear, not a puddle muddied by every passing footstep. The invisible weight you have been carrying is the weight of 1,000 concerns that were never yours to solve. It is the burden of a false duty. Put it down. You do not need to carry it to prove your worth. Your worth is inherent. It is in the stillness beneath the noise. It is in the solid ground of your own being. Stop being a vessel for the world's anxieties. You were not made to be a container for the chaos. You were made to be a source. And a source must, above all else, protect its spring. There is a stage inside your mind. It is small, and the only light is a single, harsh spotlight that follows you everywhere. You are the only performer. Every day, from the moment you wake, you step onto this stage and the performance begins. You choose your costume carefully, the clothes that project the right image. You rehearse your lines, the casual greeting, the intelligent comment in a meeting, the witty reply. You are acutely aware of every gesture, every intonation, every choice, because you are performing for an audience, an immense, unseen audience. Their gazes are like 1,000 tiny pins, and you feel their constant, prickling pressure. This is the theater of gazes, the private drama you have been trapped in for so long that you have mistaken the stage for the world. But who truly is in the audience? If you were to turn up the house lights, you would not see rows of attentive faces. You would see only shadows, ghosts, and echoes. The ghost of a critical parent, the shadow of a competitive colleague, the echo of a stranger's fleeting glance on the street. You are performing your life for a crowd that isn't there. This relentless performance is rooted in the deepest, most ancient part of your brain. For our ancestors, belonging to the tribe was not a matter of comfort, but of life and death. To be cast out, to be judged unworthy by the collective gaze, was a death sentence. That primal fear is still wired into your nervous system. Your brain cannot distinguish between the real threat of tribal ostracism and the perceived threat of a negative comment on social media or being the subject of office gossip. The alarm bells ring with the same deafening intensity, and so you perform. You seek approval and shrink from disapproval not because you are weak, but because your instincts are screaming at you to ensure your survival. The tragedy is that this survival mechanism, designed for a world of small, cohesive tribes, has become a pathological prison in our modern world of billions. The tribe is now a faceless, global, and often merciless audience, and you have internalized its gaze. You no longer need others to watch you. You have become your own panopticon, your own relentless warden. The judge and the judged, the watcher and the watched, all contained within the anxious confines of your own skull. This creates a painful, exhausting split within you. There is the authentic self, and there is the performed self. Your authentic self is the one that exists when you believe no one is watching. It is the self that wants to sing off-key in the car, that wants to try a new hobby and be gloriously bad at it, that wants to ask the stupid question because it is genuinely curious. It is the self that is willing to be clumsy, awkward, and imperfect, because it is more interested in living than in curating the appearance of a life. It is your inner child, full of impulse and wonder. But the performed self, the actor on the stage, smothers this child. The performed self is a master strategist. It calculates, it edits, it polishes. It filters every authentic impulse through the suffocating question, what will they think? It chooses the safer option, the more acceptable opinion, the less controversial path. It wears a heavy suit of armor, welded together by the fear of judgment. Living this way is a constant, low-grade fever of self-consciousness. It is a life lived in a straitjacket woven from the imagined opinions of others. You expend enormous amounts of energy not on creating or loving or experiencing, but on managing the perception of these things. It is the ultimate waste of a precious human life. Now, allow this truth to land in the center of your stage, to douse the harsh spotlight in its clarifying light. The audience you fear does not exist. Or, to be more precise, it is far too busy performing on its own stage to be paying any meaningful attention to yours. The person whose judgment you dread is not meticulously analyzing your choices. That person is the terrified star of their own internal drama, worrying about the spotlight they feel on themselves. They are obsessing over their own lines, their own costume, their own imagined audience. The attention they might spare for you is fleeting, superficial, and forgotten in an instant as they are pulled back into the gravitational field of their own self-concern. You are a background character in everyone else's story, just as they are in yours. The only person watching your every move with relentless, critical focus is you. The only one keeping a detailed record of your every stumble is you. Freedom, then, does not come from earning the audience's applause. Freedom comes from the stunning realization that the auditorium is empty. It comes from the courage to fire the ghosts, dismiss the shadows, and walk off the stage. Think of your mind as a hall of mirrors. For years, you have been walking through this hall, believing that the reflections you see are true, but they are not flat, honest mirrors. They are carnival mirrors, each one warping your image according to a different fear. One mirror, labeled parents, stretches you into a shape of their unfulfilled dreams. Another, labeled colleagues, shrinks you, highlighting every perceived flaw and incompetence. A vast, glittering mirror called social media reflects a fragmented, impossibly polished version of yourself, standing next to impossibly polished versions of everyone else, a grotesque distortion of reality. You have been trying to satisfy all these twisted reflections at once, an impossible and maddening task. You contort your posture, your smile, your very soul, trying to look good in mirrors designed to make you look monstrous. The act of caring less is the act of taking a hammer and one by one smashing these mirrors. The sound is terrifying at first, a crashing of old identities. But with every shard that falls, light comes in. The goal is not to live in darkness, but to find a single, clear pane of glass. A mirror that has no agenda, that does not judge, that simply reflects what is. To look into it is to meet yourself for the first time, free from the distortions of 1,000 fearful gazes. The antidote to this mental theater is brutally simple. It is the return to the physical. The theater is a phantom world built of thought. Your body is an anchor in the real world, the world that exists beyond opinion. The next time you feel the spotlight's heat, the next time the fear of judgment rises in your throat, I want you to perform a single, conscious act of rebellion. Shift your entire attention to the soles of your feet. Feel them inside your shoes. Feel the texture of your socks, the slight pressure of the leather. Feel the solid, unyielding ground beneath you. That ground is real. It is holding you up. It does not have an opinion about your career choice. It does not judge what you ate for lunch. It simply is, and you simply are, upon it. This is your anchor. Drop it deep. Feel the weight of your body in your chair. The chair does not care if you are successful. It just holds your weight. Feel the air as it enters your nostrils cool, and then warm as it leaves. The air is not concerned with your social status. It just gives you life. This is not a metaphor. It is a lifeline. Pull yourself out of the imaginary world of the stage and into the undeniable reality of your own physical presence. The gazes cannot follow you here. Here, there is no performance. There is only being. The great irony is that by constantly performing for others, you become less real to them and less real to yourself. The very connection you crave is prevented by the armor you wear. People do not connect with polish. They connect with authenticity. They connect with the cracks, the stumbles, the shared humanity of being imperfect. Your greatest performance will not be the flawless execution of a carefully curated role. The greatest act of your life will be the moment you give yourself permission to stop performing altogether. It is the moment you value the feeling of truth inside you more than the sound of applause outside you. It is the moment you understand that you do not exist to be an object for the consumption of others' gazes. You exist to live. So, let this be the final act of your play. Turn off the spotlight. Let the shadows of the audience dissolve into the nothingness from which they came. Stand for a moment in the warm, gentle darkness of the empty theater, and then walk out the stage door, into the real world, not as a performer, but as a participant. Not to be seen, but simply to be. Your life is a vessel, and the present moment is a vast, calm sea. There is no storm, no wind, only a surface of glass reflecting an endless sky. And yet, you are not moving. You are trapped, held fast in the center of this boundless peace, wondering why you feel so stuck, so powerless. The reason is simple, and it is absurd. You are at anchor, but not one anchor, two. One anchor, heavy and rusted, is plunged deep into the murky seabed of the past. Its chain is forged from the links of regret, resentment, and the bitter question, what if? The other anchor is not cast below, but thrown high into the sky, its hook snagged on a cloud of the future. Its rope is spun from the thin, frantic threads of anxiety, worry, and the desperate need to control what is to come. And so you sit, immobilized, held captive by two illusions, while the only reality, the magnificent, living sea of now, stretches out around you, ignored. This state of being is not an accident. It is a strategy of the mind. The mind, in its cleverness, abhors the present moment. The now can feel terrifyingly empty to an ego that thrives on problems. Or it can feel overwhelmingly real, demanding a presence and an honesty that the mind is not prepared to give. So, it escapes. It flees to the two territories it knows best: the curated museum of the past and the speculative fiction of the future. The past, even a painful one, is familiar. The mind clings to old grievances and replays old failures because they provide a solid, if painful, sense of identity. To care about what happened, to obsess over the injustice or the mistake, is to give the ego a story. I am the one who was wronged. I am the one who failed. This narrative feels more substantial than the simple, formless, and storyless reality of just being here. Regret is a ghost, but the mind would rather live with a ghost it knows than in a house that feels empty. It is a constant, low-level form of caring that feels like vigilance, but is actually a form of self-imprisonment, forcing you to pay rent for a property you no longer live in. The future is the mind's other favorite escape. Caring about what might happen feels productive, responsible even. You call it planning, preparing, being cautious, and sometimes it is. But more often, it is a frantic, anxious dance of 1,000 what-ifs. The mind creates intricate webs of potential disaster and then works tirelessly to solve these imaginary problems. This constant projection into the future creates the illusion of control. By worrying, you trick yourself into believing you are doing something. You are patrolling the borders of tomorrow, standing guard against threats that have not yet materialized and may never do so. This obsession with the future is a profound statement of distrust in yourself and in life. It is the belief that unless you mentally rehearse every possible outcome, you will not be able to handle what comes. This state of constant, forward-looking care is not preparation. It is paralysis. It is the engine of a car revving at maximum RPMs while the wheels are stuck in the mud, burning precious fuel, creating noise and smoke, but going absolutely nowhere. And so the inner conflict rages. A quiet, wise part of you knows the truth. You have tasted the present moment in fleeting, sacred instances. the sudden, intense flavor of a ripe fruit, the genuine, unthinking laughter shared with a friend, the feeling of the sun on your skin, so real and so absolute that for a single second, there is no past, no future, only warmth. This is the soul's deep and persistent longing for reality. It whispers to you, be here. This is all there is. This is where life is happening. But the conditioned mind, the restless addict, screams back in protest. It finds the present boring, unfulfilling, or dangerous. It cannot be trusted. This quiet is unsettling, it hisses. Let's just go back and analyze that conversation from yesterday one more time. We can find a better comeback. Or it tempts you with, this peace is fragile. Let's make a 10-step plan to protect it, to ensure nothing can go wrong next week, next year, next decade. The struggle is between the profound peace of being and the seductive addiction to thinking. You are caught between the truth of the sea and the pull of the anchors. Here is the secret that cuts the chains. The present moment is not something you must fight to achieve. It is not a destination you must struggle to reach. The present moment is what is left over when you stop doing everything else. It is your natural state. It is the default setting of the universe. It is what remains when you cease to pour your life's energy into the phantom limbs of past and future. You do not need to add a new spiritual practice to your life as much as you need to subtract a destructive mental habit. You are not trying to build a state of presence. You are trying to dismantle the machinery of absence. The past is a memory trace in your mind. The future is a projection of your imagination. The only place you can feel, act, love, choose, or live is here, in this sliver of reality we call now. To sacrifice this for the ghosts of yesterday and the dreams of tomorrow is the ultimate bad bargain. You are trading the only thing that is real for two things that do not exist. Imagine your mind is a perfectly still pool of water. This is its natural state in the present moment, clear, calm, and reflecting the sky perfectly. Every time you obsess over a past mistake, it is like picking up a heavy, jagged rock of regret and hurling it into the center of the pool. The splash is violent, and the ripples spread out, distorting the entire surface for a long, long time. The water becomes murky, the reflection shattered. Every time you worry about the future, it is like scattering a handful of pebbles across the surface. There is no single big splash, but a constant, nervous agitation. The water is never allowed to settle. It is in a state of perpetual tremor. The practice of caring less about past and future is not about preventing a stone from ever falling into the pool again. It is about recognizing that you are the one holding the stones. It is the conscious decision to open your hand and let them drop to the ground beside you instead of into the water. It is the wisdom to allow the water to return to what it always wants to be, still. The most potent tool you have to do this, the anchor that holds you in the calm sea of now, is your own breath. Your breath is a miracle of presence. It is never in the past. It is never in the future. It is always happening right now. It is the rhythm of life itself, and you can access it at any moment. When you feel the familiar pull of the old anchor of regret, or the tense tug of the future's rope, stop. Do not fight the thought. Do not wrestle with it. Simply shift your attention. Bring your awareness to the air entering your body. Feel the coolness in your nostrils. Follow it as it fills your lungs. Notice the brief, still pause at the peak of the inhalation, and then follow the exhale all the way out. Feel the gentle release, the letting go. Your mind will wander. It will be seduced by a memory or an anxiety within seconds. This is not a failure. It is simply what minds do. When it happens, notice it without judgment. You might even label it gently in your head, past, future. Then, like a kind shepherd guiding a lost sheep, gently lead your attention back to the breath. Inhale, exhale. Each breath is a return home. Each breath is an act of pulling up the anchors. This is not a call for amnesia or recklessness. Learn from the past, but do not live there. Plan for the future, but do not inhabit it before its time. Your memories and your aspirations are tools to be used in the present, not houses to be haunted. The energy you have been wasting on reliving old sorrows and pre-living new fears is the very energy you need to build a meaningful life today. Every moment you spend anchored to what was or what might be is a moment of your actual life that you forfeit. Cut the ropes. The past has no power to wound you unless you give it a blade in the present. The future has no authority to frighten you unless you build its monsters in the present. You are the captain of your vessel. Your destination is not a distant shore. Your journey is the journey itself. Across the living, breathing, ever-present sea of now, pull up the anchors. Feel the gentle drift. You are finally moving. Let us speak of the most subtle and pervasive form of arrogance, one that masquerades as responsibility and care. It is the quiet, insistent belief that you can and should control the world around you. This arrogance doesn't boast or preen. It whispers. It is the voice in your head that says, if only they would act differently, I would be at peace. It is the constant, simmering frustration that reality does not conform to your meticulously drawn blueprints. It is the tightening in your stomach when a plan goes awry, a physical manifestation of your will colliding with the unyielding will of the universe. You stand on the shore of your life like a foolish king, pointing a scepter at the incoming tide and commanding it to stop. The tide, of course, does not listen. It continues its majestic, indifferent advance. And the only one left feeling powerless, angry, and exhausted by this futile display is you, the king of a kingdom that never existed. This desperate need for control is born from a profound intolerance for uncertainty. The human mind craves patterns, predictability, and safety. A known landscape, even a barren one, feels safer to the ego than a lush, unknown forest. And life, in its raw essence, is that unknown forest, wild, unpredictable, and fundamentally untamable. So, to defend against this terrifying vulnerability, you try to pave it over. You attempt to turn the forest into a manicured city park. Control is the ego's primary defense mechanism against the truth of its own fragility. If you can control your partner's moods, your children's choices, your career's trajectory, the opinions of your peers, then you believe you can build a fortress against disappointment, heartbreak, and failure. It is a fundamental misapplication of a useful skill. You learn that if you control the variables in an equation, you can predict the outcome. You learn that if you assemble the parts of a machine correctly, it will run as designed. The catastrophic error is to believe that life is such a machine. You are treating a living, breathing, chaotic ecosystem as if it were a clockwork device. You are trying to be its mechanic when life demands you be its student. The inner conflict this creates is immense. It is a state of being constantly at war with what is. A part of you, a deep, intuitive wisdom, understands the nature of the river. It knows that life flows, that there are currents and eddies, that some days are calm and some are turbulent. This part of you is capable of awe and surrender. It is the part that can watch a sunset without trying to improve it, the part that can listen to music without deconstructing it. It knows that the most beautiful moments in life are often the ones that arrive unbidden, the unexpected detours that lead to magnificent views. But another part of you, the inner tyrant, the fearful micromanager, is terrified of this flow. It believes that if it relaxes its grip for a single instant, the world will spin into chaos. It must manage everything. It must correct, adjust, and steer every situation, every person, every feeling. This inner tyrant is the source of the constant tension in your shoulders, the shallow breathing, the feeling of being perpetually braced for impact. It is the exhausting, thankless job of trying to hold a beach ball underwater. You can do it, but it takes constant, straining effort, and the moment your attention wavers, the ball bursts violently to the surface, reminding you that you were fighting against its very nature all along. Now, let this revelation sink into your bones, calming the inner tyrant and speaking directly to the wise soul within. True power is not found in the futile attempt to bend the river to your will. It is found in the masterful skill of steering your own vessel along its natural, powerful current. This is a profound shift in your understanding of power. You have been taught that power is domination over the external. But this is a brittle, anxious kind of power. True strength is resilience, adaptability, and the grace to move with a force far greater than yourself. The expert kayaker does not try to stop the rapids. That would be insane. Instead, they study the water. They feel its pull. They lean into the current, and they use the river's own ferocious energy to navigate. The river's power becomes their power. They are not at war with reality. They are in a dynamic, respectful dance with it. To let go of the illusion of control is not to become a passive victim, helplessly tossed about. It is to become the dancer, the navigator, the surfer. It is to finally stop fighting and start living. To understand this better, consider the difference between a gardener and a mechanic. The mechanic approaches a broken engine with the logic of absolute control. They diagnose the problem, replace the faulty part, and expect a predictable, repeatable result. The engine has no will of its own. It is a closed system, subject to the mechanic's intervention. For years, you have been trying to be the mechanic of your life, of your relationships, of your own heart. But these are not machines. They are living things. They require the touch of a gardener. A gardener does not command a seed to sprout. A gardener cannot force a rose to bloom by prying its petals open. To do so would destroy it. The gardener's power lies not in control, but in cultivation. They understand the nature of the plant and work with it. They provide the right conditions: fertile soil, water, sunlight. They protect it from harm. They patiently nurture its growth. The gardener also lives with the wisdom of acceptance. They know there will be weeds. They know storms will come. They know that some seeds will simply not sprout. They do not see this as a personal failure, but as part of the uncontrollable, beautiful, and sometimes tragic cycle of life. Stop being the frustrated mechanic of your soul. Pick up the tools of the gardener. Cultivate, nurture, and learn to work with the natural tendencies of your own life, rather than trying to hammer it into a shape it was never meant to have. This shift from control to cultivation requires practice. It requires you to retrain your mind, which is addicted to resistance. Here is a simple, radical exercise. For the next week, practice accepting life's small inconveniences as if you had chosen them. When you are stuck in a traffic jam, instead of fuming and fighting it, say to yourself, silently or out loud, "I choose this. For these 10 minutes, my purpose is to sit in this car, in this traffic." This is not an act of delusion. You are not trying to convince yourself that you enjoy traffic. You are performing a powerful act of mental jujitsu. The moment you choose it, the resistance dies. The internal battle ceases. The energy you would have wasted on frustration is instantly liberated. When your coffee spills, instead of cursing, take a breath and say, "I choose this moment of cleaning up." When a plan with a friend is canceled at the last minute, instead of feeling resentful, allow yourself to say, "I choose this unexpected open space in my evening." This practice is a workout for your soul's muscle of acceptance. By consciously choosing the small things you cannot control, you train yourself to meet the big things, the true storms of life, not with futile resistance, but with a grounded, resilient, and powerful grace. The promise of control is security, but its actual product is anxiety. You are trying to nail down the future, but the future is made of water. You are trying to command the hearts of others, but hearts are wild territories. You are trying to dictate your own feelings, but feelings are weather patterns that must be allowed to pass. Let go of the scepter. Walk down from your imaginary throne. Feel the water of the tide wash over your feet. It was never your enemy. It was just reality. The wise one is not the king who shouts at the tide, but the humble fisherman who knows its rhythm so well that he uses it to bring his boat safely to shore. Stop demanding that life adhere to your rigid script, and you will finally be free to read the magnificent story it is actually trying to tell you. Let go of the life you planned, and you will be able to live the life that is waiting for you. And you will find, to your deep and lasting astonishment, that it is far more beautiful and far more real than the one you tried so desperately to design. There is a promise that has been whispered to you from your first breath, a promise that has become the central, unspoken creed of our time, that you should be happy. It is presented as a destination, a prize, the natural and rightful conclusion of a life well lived. And because you are a diligent student of your culture, you have accepted this promise as your most sacred mission. You have begun the great pursuit. You hunt for happiness in achievements, in relationships, in possessions, in experiences. You climb mountains, chase promotions, seek new lovers, and curate perfect moments, all in the desperate hope that at the summit, around the next corner, you will finally capture it. But what if the promise itself is a trap? What if your relentless, obsessive care for becoming happy is the very thing that is making you miserable? What if happiness is not a creature to be hunted, but a shy animal, like a cat, that only approaches when you have forgotten you are waiting for it, when you are sitting quietly, engaged in something else entirely? The modern world has sold you a defective product. It has taken the organic, fleeting, and natural state of contentment and packaged it as a goal to be attained. This creates a fundamental and painful state of deficit. The underlying assumption becomes, your default state is one of lack, and your life's work is to fix this inherent flaw. You are not simply living. You are engaged in a constant project of self-improvement aimed at reaching a perpetually receding horizon of happiness. This gives rise to a uniquely modern form of suffering, not just unhappiness, but unhappiness about being unhappy. You feel sorrow, and on top of the sorrow, you feel the guilt and failure of not being happy. You feel anxiety, and on top of the anxiety, you feel the frustration that you are not the calm, blissful person you are supposed to be. This secondary layer of judgment is the true poison. It is the voice that whispers, you are failing at the most basic human task. This constant self-monitoring, this endless emotional temperature taking. Am I happy now? How happy? On a scale of 1 to 10. Could I be happier? Pulls you out of the river of life and forces you onto the sterile bank to analyze the water. You cannot swim and measure the current at the same time. This creates a deep and painful inner conflict. There is a healthy, natural part of you that simply wants to live. It affirms life in all its complexity. It finds savor in a simple meal, comfort in a quiet room, connection in a moment of shared vulnerability. It understands, on an intuitive level, that life is a symphony of many notes, not a single high-pitched tone of bliss. It accepts that sadness is a part of love, that fear is a part of courage, that boredom is a part of peace. But this wise, accepting self is constantly at war with the anxious, grasping, happiness seeker you have been trained to be. This seeker is a tyrant. It scrutinizes every experience and judges it on a single brutal metric, its happiness yield. A pleasant evening is tainted by the thought that it could be more fun. A meaningful but difficult conversation is deemed a failure because it did not produce feelings of joy. The seeker turns your life into a frantic and exhausting audit. It looks at your reality and compares it to a photoshopped image of happiness it holds in its mind. And your reality always comes up short. This constant comparison is the thief of joy. It ensures you are never where you are. You are always in the gap, in the space between what is and what you think should be. The liberation from this prison comes from a simple, yet world-altering, shift in perspective. Happiness is not a prize to be won. It is the quiet guest that arrives when you have made your home ready for it. It is a byproduct, a grace note, not the point of the song. The obsession with attaining happiness is like obsessing over the warmth of a fire. You cannot generate the warmth directly. You must do the work of gathering the wood, arranging the kindling, and striking the match. You must tend to the fire. The warmth is the natural result of these actions. So, what is the wood for the fire of a contented life? It is meaning, it is presence, it is contribution, it is courage, it is the acceptance of your full humanity. The radical act is to stop caring so much about being happy. Instead, care about being present, care about being honest, care about being kind to yourself, even when you are not happy. Care about engaging with the world with an open heart. Aim for a life of meaning, and happiness will often show up as an unexpected traveling companion. Aim only for happiness, and you will find yourself on a lonely road, chasing a phantom. Imagine a butterfly, its wings a mosaic of vibrant color. You want to hold it, to possess its beauty. You lunge for it, your hands grasping at the air. It flits away, its movements erratic and unpredictable, always just beyond your reach. The more desperately you chase it, the more exhausted you become, and the farther away it seems. Now, imagine you do something different. You stop chasing. You turn your attention to the ground at your feet. You begin to cultivate a garden. You till the soil. You plant the seeds of flowers. You find beautiful. You water them. You pull the weeds. Your focus is on the work, on the soil, on the stems and leaves. It is quiet, patient, and sometimes difficult work. You forget about the butterfly entirely. Then one day, as you are tending to a rose, you feel a delicate, weightless touch on your shoulder. You turn your head, and there it is, resting on you, its wings gently pulsing in the sun. It came to you not because you chased it, but because you created a place it wanted to be. Your life is this garden. Stop chasing the butterfly of happiness. Tend to your garden. To make this shift from a hunter to a gardener, you must change the fundamental question that drives you. You have been asking, how can I be happy? This is a terrible question. It is vast, abstract, and paralyzing. It implies that happiness is a thing out there, a secret you have not yet cracked. It sends you on an endless external search. I invite you to replace it with a new question, a more precise, more compassionate, and infinitely more useful one. The next time you feel that familiar ache of dissatisfaction, do not ask how to be happy. Ask, instead, what is obstructing my peace in this moment? This question changes everything. First, it assumes that peace is your natural state, your baseline. It suggests that contentment is not something to be added, but something that is already here, merely obscured. Second, it turns your focus inward, not outward. The obstruction is not in the world. It is a thought you are believing, an emotion you are resisting, a tension you are holding in your body. It is a thorn in your own foot, not a flaw in the path. This question is diagnostic, not aspirational. It gives you immediate practical work to do, to investigate the thought, to allow the emotion, to soften the tension. It is the difference between trying to conquer a distant mountain and simply removing a stone from your own shoe. So, release yourself from the exhausting, impossible promise of perpetual happiness. It is a cage gilded with the illusion of bliss. To care less about this narrow, impossible goal is to open yourself up to the vast, rich, sacred entirety of your own life. Allow yourself to be whole. Allow the waves of sadness to wash through you and cleanse you. Allow the fire of anger to burn away what is no longer needed. Allow the fallow fields of boredom to rest and rejuvenate you. These are not enemies of happiness. They are essential parts of the human landscape. They are what make the moments of joy so brilliant and so precious. True contentment is not the absence of darkness, but the ability to hold both the darkness and the light with equal grace. It is the deep, quiet peace that underlies all the shifting weather of your emotions. Stop chasing the butterfly. Stop trying to force the cat to come to you. Simply tend to your garden. Simply sit still. The warmth you seek will arise from the fire you so patiently build. The beauty you crave will land upon you when you least expect it, a gift of pure grace. We are terrified of empty spaces. Watch yourself in the brief, interstitial moments of your life. Waiting for an elevator, standing in a line, the pause after a conversation ends. Notice the immediate, almost convulsive reflex to reach for a device, to fill the silence, to find a distraction. We treat emptiness as a vacuum that nature abhors, a void that must be immediately and frantically filled with noise, with information, with purpose, with anything other than the stark, silent reality of the moment itself. We have become masters of cramming our lives so full of doing that we have left no room for being. We schedule our work, we schedule our leisure, we schedule our relaxation, all in a desperate flight from the profound and unsettling majesty of nothingness. We have come to believe that a full life is a busy life, but in our frantic rush to fill the canvas, we have forgotten that the space is what allows the image to exist. This terror of the void is not a trivial habit. It is a deep-seated existential fear. For in the emptiness, when all the external stimuli fall away, when the music stops and the screens go dark, we are left with only one thing: ourselves. And for a mind unaccustomed to its own company, this can be a terrifying encounter. The silence outside only makes the noise inside seem louder. The unresolved anxieties, the half-formed regrets, the quiet hum of dissatisfaction, all the things we successfully distract ourselves from begin to rise to the surface. Busyness is our buffer against the self. It is a shield we hold up against the great, unnerving questions of our own lives. Who am I without my to-do list? What is my value when I am not being productive? What is left when the performance stops? We fear that the answer is nothing, and so we run endlessly from the very space where the real answers might be found. This fear is compounded by a culture that has sanctified productivity as the ultimate measure of worth. We have been taught from birth that our value is directly proportional to our output. An empty slot in our calendar feels like a moral failing. To do nothing is equated with being lazy, wasteful, a drain on the world. We feel a deep puritanical guilt for resting, for being still. The inner slave driver, a voice assembled from the expectations of parents, teachers, and society, cracks a whip in our minds. You are wasting precious time, it snarls. You are falling behind. There is more to do, more to achieve, more to become. And so, we obey. We turn our lives into a frantic optimization problem, trying to squeeze every last drop of productivity out of every single second. Even our rest becomes a task. We work on our mindfulness. We practice relaxation. We are so terrified of true, unstructured nothingness that we cannot even allow ourselves to be still without turning it into another project. We are at war with the very concept of a fallow season, forgetting that no field can produce a harvest year after year without a period of quiet, empty rest. Now, let us introduce a revolutionary idea, a truth so simple that it sounds like heresy in our overcrammed world. It is only in the emptiness that there is room for anything new to arise. The canvas must be blank before the masterpiece can be painted. The womb must be empty before a life can grow. The cup must be empty before it can be filled. The nothingness you fear is not an absence. It is a presence. It is the presence of pure potentiality. It is the fertile void from which all creation springs. You have been looking at the clouds and thinking they are the sky, but the sky is not the clouds. The sky is the vast, silent, boundless emptiness that holds the clouds, that allows them to form and drift and dissolve. The clouds are your thoughts, your emotions, your activities fleeting, temporary, ever-changing. Your true nature is the sky. To befriend the nothingness is to befriend your own deepest essence. It is to realize that your power is not in the frantic weather patterns, but in the vast, serene, and silent space that contains them all. Think of your mind as a room. For years, you have been a compulsive hoarder. You have filled this room from floor to ceiling with furniture. There are heavy couches of old beliefs, cluttered tables of future plans, stacks of unopened boxes filled with other people's opinions. There is no space to move. There is no light. It is suffocating. The path to freedom is not to add more, better furniture. The path is to start taking things out. The practice of embracing nothingness is the practice of voluntary, conscious subtraction. It is the courage to create empty space in that room. At first, the emptiness feels stark and unfamiliar, but soon, you realize you can breathe again. You can walk around, you can dance. You begin to appreciate the beauty not of the objects, but of the space between them. You realize that true richness is not a room crammed with possessions, but a room with just enough space to live. Or think of your life as a piece of music. Its beauty is found not just in the notes, but in the rests, the moments of silence between them. These pauses give the notes their rhythm, their power, their meaning. A composition without rests would be an unendurable, meaningless wall of noise. Your life demands these rests. The nothingness is the sacred silence that gives the notes of your life their heartbreaking beauty. I want you to try a small, radical experiment. It requires no equipment, no special location. It only requires 5 minutes and a measure of courage. Find a chair, sit in it. Set a timer for 5 minutes. For the duration of those 5 minutes, your single solitary task is to do nothing. And by nothing, I mean nothing. Do not pick up your phone. Do not turn on the music. Do not read a book. Do not make a mental to-do list. Do not try to solve a problem. Do not even try to meditate in a formal sense. Your only job is to sit and to gently resist the ferocious urge to do something, and the urge will be ferocious. Your mind will thrash like a caged animal. It will offer you 1,000 seemingly urgent tasks and brilliant ideas. It will scream at you about how much time you are wasting. Your body will want to fidget. Your thumbs will search for a screen that isn't there. Your task is not to suppress this energy. Your task is to simply watch it, observe the restlessness, feel the pull of the addiction to doing. Meet it not with judgment, but with a quiet, stubborn stillness. The goal of these 5 minutes is not to achieve a state of blissful peace. The goal is to simply make it to the end. The victory is in the act of stopping. It is a declaration of independence from your own inner tyrant. Do not be afraid of what you will find in the silence. Yes, you may find boredom, you may find anxiety, you may find sadness. Let them be there. They are just more clouds passing through your sky. By sitting still and allowing them to be, without immediately distracting yourself, you learn that you are larger than they are. You learn that you can contain them without being consumed by them. And sometimes, after the initial storm of restlessness passes, something else emerges from the void. An unexpected insight, a creative solution to a problem you had given up on, a wave of profound, uncaused peace, a feeling of coming home to yourself. You are not clearing your mind to achieve an outcome. You are clearing your mind to create the space from which anything might emerge. Stop running from the empty spaces. They are not your enemy. They are your sanctuary. They are the quiet, fertile ground where your soul can finally put down roots. Step into the majestic, terrifying, and ultimately liberating expanse of nothingness, and discover the silent, spacious center from which your entire world begins. We have been taught to think of silence as a void, an emptiness waiting to be filled, a conversational failure. We see it as a lack, an absence of sound, an awkward pause in the relentless soundtrack of our lives. But this is a profound and debilitating misunderstanding. Silence is not a vacuum. It is a substance. It is a tool. In a world that is drowning in noise, in cheap opinions and reactive chatter, Silence is not weakness. It is a source of immense power. It is the forgotten element. It is a sword, not of aggression, but of clarity, forged in the quiet fire of self-control. To learn to wield it is to learn a new form of mastery, one that does not seek to conquer others, but to achieve sovereignty over oneself. Our fear of silence, especially in the presence of others, is rooted in a deep discomfort with the unspoken. In a conversation, when a space of quiet opens up, we panic. We interpret it as a breakdown of rapport, a signal of disapproval, a chasm of judgment. Our ego, desperate for connection and validation, rushes to fill this space with words, any words, to mend the perceived tear in the social fabric. This compulsion is magnified by our conditioning as reactive creatures. We are programmed for stimulus and response. An accusation demands an immediate defense. A question begs for a swift answer. An opinion provokes a counter-opinion. This endless volley is the game the ego loves to play. To participate is to be alive, to be relevant. To choose silence, to consciously withhold a reaction, feels like forfeiting the game. It feels like surrender. We are terrified that our silence will be misinterpreted as ignorance, agreement, or weakness, and so we speak, often too quickly, too emotionally, and too thoughtlessly, sacrificing our peace for the sake of participation. This gives rise to a constant inner battle, the war between reaction and response. The reactive self is a creature of instinct and insecurity. It lives on a hair trigger. Fueled by adrenaline and the ego's desperate need to manage its image, it leaps to its own defense, justifies its position, and seeks to win every minor skirmish. Its words are cheap currency, spent lavishly in the heat of the moment, often leaving a bitter aftertaste of regret. This is the part of you that lies awake at night, replaying a conversation, tormented by the words that tumbled out in a rush of emotion. I wish I hadn't said that. Opposing this is the responsive self, the wise and centered core of your being. This self understands that power does not reside in the speed of the reply, but in its depth. It knows that not every stimulus requires a reaction. It can hold space. It can listen without formulating a rebuttal. It can absorb the energy of a moment without being consumed by it. And when it finally chooses to speak, its words arise not from the choppy waves of emotion, but from the still, deep ocean of considered thought. Its words have weight because they are rare and they are true. The daily battle is to starve the reactive self and nurture the responsive self. The primary training ground for this is the deliberate cultivation of silence. Here is the revelation that can change the texture of your life. Your most powerful statement is not always the one you speak aloud. Often, it is the one you consciously choose to withhold. Silence is not the absence of an answer. It is an answer in itself. It is a language of its own, capable of communicating with far more precision than a torrent of words. The silence of deep listening communicates profound respect, telling the other person, "What you say is more important to me right now than what I have to say." The silence of confidence in the face of criticism communicates unshakable self-worth, declaring, "Your opinion does not have the power to define or destabilize me." The silence of disagreement, held with calm integrity, can be far more potent than a loud argument, stating, "I do not share your view, and I do not need to fight you to validate my own." The silence of wisdom understands that some moments are made worse, not better, by the addition of more words. It knows when the ground is not fertile for a seed of truth to be planted. Learning to speak this language is learning to conserve your most precious energy. Imagine a forge. The situation a tense negotiation, a difficult confrontation, an emotional argumentus, the searing heat. The impulse to react, to lash out, to defend your ego, is the raw, unrefined iron. Most people immediately plunge this raw iron into the cold water of speech, producing a brittle, misshapen, and useless object. The master of silence does something different. They place the iron in the fire and hold it there. They endure the heat of the uncomfortable moment. They feel the pressure to speak, but resist it. This act of conscious resistance, of holding the space, is the hammer striking the glowing metal. With each moment of deliberate quiet, with each breath taken instead of a word spoken, the iron is being hammered, purified, and strengthened. It is being tempered. When you finally speak, if you choose to speak at all, your words are no longer raw iron. They are a forged blade, sharp, strong, balanced, and true. They are a tool of precision, not a weapon of clumsy passion. This is what it means to forge the sword of silence. Think of it another way. The words of the world, the opinions, the accusations, the endless chatter, they are the wind. The wind can be a gentle breeze or a howling gale. It can kick up dust, scatter leaves, and make a great deal of noise. It can feel dramatic and powerful, but the wind has no effect on the substance of a mountain. Silence is the mountain. By cultivating a core of inner stillness, you become the mountain. The winds of other people's emotions and judgments can howl around you, but they do not move you. You are anchored in a reality deeper than their fleeting weather. You offer no surface for their chaos to cling to. You simply are. This does not mean you are cold or unfeeling. The mountain is teeming with life, with forests and streams. It simply means your core stability is not dependent on the atmospheric conditions of the moment. People who are grounded in this silent strength are a refuge for others. Their calm is a sanctuary. They do not add to the world's noise. They are a quiet place within it. To bring this practice into your life, you must master a single, simple technique: the sacred pause. The next time you find yourself in a situation that triggers your reactive self, when you feel that hot, familiar rush of anger or defensiveness rising in your chest, I want you to make a covenant with yourself. Before a single word leaves your lips, you will take one full, conscious breath. Inhale through your nose, slowly. Feel your belly expand. Hold it for a silent count of 2. Then, exhale through your mouth, even more slowly. In the 3 or 4 seconds this takes, a miracle occurs. The initial wave of raw limbic emotion crests and begins to recede. Your rational mind, the prefrontal cortex, has a chance to come online. The overwhelming compulsion gives way to a moment of choice. In that sacred pause, you are no longer a puppet of your own chemistry. You are the master of your response. You have taken the raw iron of impulse and held it in the fire for one crucial moment. You have created a space between stimulus and response, and in that space lies your freedom and your power. Practice this in small moments, when you are about to interrupt someone, when you feel a flicker of irritation, and you will build the strength to use it in the great battles of your life. Do not be afraid of the silent spaces you create. They are not empty. They are full of potential. They are full of listening, of wisdom, of respect. In a society that rewards the loudest voice and the quickest comeback, choosing silence is a quiet revolution. It is an act of defiance against the culture of noise. It is how you reclaim your dignity from the fray. It is how you honor the complexity of a situation by refusing to reduce it to a knee-jerk slogan. Let the world fill the air with its frantic energy. You will build your sanctuary out of quiet. You will find your strength in stillness. Forge your sword in the heart of silence, and you will discover the profound truth that the most important battles are won not with a clang of steel, but with the unshakable power of a calm and quiet heart. You have been told that you live in the world, that you are a small subject moving through a vast, objective reality. But this is a functional truth, not a fundamental one. The more profound truth is this: you live in the world that you pay attention to. Your experience of reality is not a passive reception of everything that is happening. It is an active and continuous creation, and the primary tool of that creation is your attention. Think of your attention not as a mirror that reflects the world, but as a creative light, a powerful, focused beam. Wherever this beam shines, a world springs into being, complete with color, texture, and emotional charge. The vast remainder of reality, left in the darkness outside that beam, effectively ceases to exist for you. The great act of caring less is, therefore, not an act of numbing yourself to the world. It is the conscious, deliberate, and masterful art of aiming this beam. It is the practice of becoming the architect of your own reality. The tragedy is that most of us have abdicated this architectural role. We have allowed the beam of our attention to be hijacked. Our focus is no longer our own. It has been sold to the highest bidder. Part of this is not our fault. We are running ancient software on modern hardware. Your brain is hardwired with a potent negativity bias, a survival mechanism designed to keep your ancestors alive. It was far more important for them to notice the one tiger in the bushes than the 99 beautiful flowers surrounding it. That instinct is still alive in you. It is why your attention is so easily and magnetically drawn to the modern-day tigers, the threatening headline, the critical comment, the hint of scandal, the specter of outrage. Your brain mistakes these digital threats for existential ones, and it glues your attention to them, believing it is keeping you safe. This ancient bias is now being exploited by a relentless and sophisticated machine, the attention economy. Every notification, every headline, every infinite scroll is meticulously engineered by armies of experts to capture and hold your focus. They know your weaknesses. They understand that novelty, social validation, and outrage are the most potent lures for the human mind. To be unaware of these forces is to be a puppet, your strings pulled by algorithms whose only goal is to monetize your most precious resource. Your attention is being strip-mined, leaving you feeling fragmented, anxious, and depleted. You find yourself caring deeply about dramas 1,000 miles away, about the lives of strangers, about arguments that have no bearing on your existence, while the beautiful, fragile, and real life unfolding right in front of you lies neglected in the shadows. Your inner world becomes a reflection not of your own values, but of the priorities of those who have successfully captured your gaze. This leads to a state of constant inner conflict, a battle for the control of the spotlight. For most, the default state is that of the distracted mind. The spotlight of attention is like a broken, flickering lamp in a storm, darting erratically from one stimulus to the next. It jumps from a work email to a passing worry, from a social media notification to the memory of an old regret, from a news alert to a sudden craving. It illuminates nothing for more than a second. A mind in this state is powerless. It cannot create. It cannot connect deeply. It cannot rest. It is a shallow, agitated mind, exhausted by its own chaotic movement. Opposing this is the potential of the focused mind. This is the mind that has reclaimed its sovereignty. It has grasped the lamp and holds it steady. It consciously chooses where to aim the beam of attention. It can choose to illuminate a single task until it is complete, a piece of art until its beauty is fully absorbed, a loved one's face until they feel truly seen. This mind is calm, potent, and creative. It can penetrate the surface of things and discover the richness beneath. The battle of your life, in every single moment, is the choice between these two modes. Will you allow the storm of the world to throw your light around, or will you be the one to hold the lamp? Here is the truth that restores your power. You are the architect of your inner world. Your attention is the brick and the mortar. With every moment of sustained focus, you are laying another brick. The question is not if you are building, but what you are building. When you spend your hours caring about political squabbles, celebrity gossip, and the endless stream of manufactured outrages, you are, brick by brick, constructing a prison. Its walls are made of anxiety, its windows are barred with resentment, and its air is thick with the stale smoke of second-hand anger. You build this prison yourself, and then you wonder why you do not feel free. But the materials are yours to choose. At any moment, You can refuse the cheap, toxic bricks the world offers you. You can begin, instead, to seek out different materials. You can choose to lay a brick of gratitude by focusing on something you have, rather than something you lack. You can lay a brick of wonder by paying attention to the intricate pattern of a leaf. You can lay a brick of love by focusing your full, undivided presence on another human being. Using these materials, you are no longer building a prison. You are building a cathedral. Imagine the garden of your mind. Your attention is the only source of water and light. If you consistently pour your attention onto the weeds of fear, comparison, and negativity, they will grow thick and strong, choking out all other life. Their roots will break the foundations of your peace. Their thorny branches will scratch at you day and night. If, however, you consciously withdraw your attention from the weeds, choosing not to engage, not to ruminate, not to care, they will begin to wither from neglect. And if you then take that same precious water and light and pour it onto the seeds of what you want to grow, your skills, your relationships, your peace of mind, your creativity, they will flourish. The garden grows where the attention goes. This is not a metaphor. It is the fundamental law of psychic reality. Stop watering the weeds. It is a profound act of self-love. To train this wild horse of your attention, you must start small. Practice the consecration of your gaze. Choose one ordinary thing. It can be the pen on your desk, a crack in the pavement, your own left hand. Set a timer for just 2 minutes. For that short span, your entire universe is to be this single object. Your task is not to think about it, but to simply see it. Let your attention be a curious, gentle fingertip, tracing its outline, its texture, its form. Notice the way the light reflects off its surface. Notice the subtle variations in its color. Notice the space it occupies. Inevitably, your mind will wander. It will tell you, this is pointless, this is boring. I have 100 more important things to do. Do not fight this voice. Do not judge it. Simply notice it. And then, with gentle determination, guide your attention back to the object. Each time you do this, you are performing one rep of the most important exercise of your life. You are strengthening the muscle of intentional focus. You are training your mind to understand, on a deep level, that you are the one who decides where the light goes. The world will always offer you cheap materials to build a prison for your soul. It will hand you the bricks of outrage and the mortar of fear, free of charge, every minute of every day. To care less about these things is not to be ignorant or passive. It is to be a discerning master architect who refuses to work with shoddy materials. It is to declare that your inner space is sacred, and it will not be built from the garbage of the world's noise. You have a grander design in mind. Take up your true calling as the architect of your experience. Choose your materials with the infinite care of one building a home for a god. Lay each brick of attention with deliberation and with love. Build a space of such integrity, such light, and such beauty that peace and wonder will have no choice but to come and make their dwelling there. We speak of letting go as if it is an act of defeat, a concession, the quiet, sad admission that we have lost the fight. Our culture, which worships the tenacious grip and the clenched fist, views letting go as a form of failure. But this is a profound and painful misunderstanding, a lie that keeps us shackled to our own suffering. True, letting go is not an act of weakness. It is an act of supreme strength. It is not a passive surrender. It is an active and courageous choice. It is the gentle, highly skilled art of choosing peace over the crushing burden of a battle that cannot, and more importantly, should not be won. It is the wisdom to recognize that some doors are meant to be closed, that some weights are meant to be set down, and that true freedom is found not in holding on tighter, but in the grace of an open hand. It is so difficult to let go because we have been taught to confuse our attachments with ourselves. We become entangled. We have invested so much of our precious life energy into a particular hope, a specific grievance, a failed project, or a past relationship, that to release it feels like we are invalidating our own history. The ego, the great storyteller, whispers a tempting lie. If you let go of your anger now, it means they got away with it, and your pain was for nothing. Or, if you abandon this dream now, all those years of struggle were a waste. This is the sunk cost fallacy applied to the soul. We continue to pour our energy into a barren well simply because we have already poured so much into it. Furthermore, our identities become fused with our burdens. We are not just a person feeling resentment. We become a resentful person. We are not just someone holding on to a particular hope. We become a martyr to that hope. To let go of the object of our attachment feels, on a deep level, like we are letting go of who we are. It is an annihilation of a familiar self, and the ego will fight desperately to avoid this dissolution, preferring the familiar agony of holding on to the terrifying uncertainty of release. This creates a constant inner war between the clenched fist and the open hand. The clenched fist is a posture of fear. It is the part of you that believes its constant, straining grip is the only thing keeping your world from falling apart. Driven by pride and habit, it holds onto past hurts as evidence. It clings to future expectations as a blueprint, and it resists the natural flow of life with a rigid, white-knuckled tension. This posture is exhausting. It is brittle. A life lived with a clenched fist is a life of perpetual strain, closed off from the world, unable to receive anything new because it is already full of what it refuses to release. Opposing this is the quiet wisdom of the open hand. This is the courageous self that understands true power lies not in rigidity, but in resilience. It knows that life is a river, not a fortress, and that some things, people, moments, emotions are meant to pass through, not to be possessed. The open hand is willing to feel the brief sting of release for the enduring peace of freedom. It is supple, it is receptive, and it is at ease. The great work of your life is the slow, deliberate, and often difficult practice of uncurling the fingers of the clenched fist one by one until you can live with the grace of an open hand. Here is the secret that unlocks this transformation. Letting go is not about losing something, it is about gaining everything. You are not creating a void, you are creating space. You cannot receive a gift with a clenched fist. You cannot embrace a new opportunity if your arms are wrapped tightly around old disappointments. You cannot feel the warmth of the sun on your palm if it is closed around a cold stone of resentment. Every act of letting go is an act of profound hospitality to the future. By releasing a grievance, you create the space for forgiveness to enter. By releasing a rigid expectation of how your life should be, you create the space for the life that is actually meant for you to unfold, often in ways more beautiful than you could have designed. By releasing your attachment to a particular outcome, you create the space to find joy and meaning in the process, regardless of the result. Letting go is the ultimate act of trust. It is trusting that the space you create will not remain empty, but will be filled by something more aligned with your true self. Imagine you are holding a burning coal in your hand. You are in agony. Your flesh is searing, and the pain is all-consuming. The source of your suffering is not, fundamentally, the coal. It is the fact that you are clinging to it. You could spend years analyzing the coal, where it came from, who gave it to you, why it is so hot. You could blame the coal for its heat, but all of this analysis changes nothing. The pain continues. The solution is simple, instantaneous, and entirely within your power. Open your hand. The moment you release your grip, the source of the pain is gone. The resentment, the old hurt, the bitter regret, these are the burning coals you carry. You believe that by holding on to them, you are somehow punishing the person who hurt you or keeping the memory alive. But the only one you are burning is yourself. Letting go is the simple, radical act of opening your hand. Or think of it this way. Imagine your worries and attachments are leaves that you are holding. You can try to fight them, to tear them apart, but this is a struggle that only creates more shredded pieces. The gentle art of letting go is to walk to the bank of a flowing river. You take one leaf, one worry, and you do not throw it into the water with force. You do not push it away. That is still a form of resistance. Instead, you perform a simple, graceful act of placement. You gently lay the leaf on the surface of the river, and you trust the current. You watch as the natural flow of life and time catches it, pulls it gently away, and carries it downstream until it is a small speck and then nothing at all. This is an act not of force, but of trust in a process larger than your own will. Some leaves are heavier and may need to be placed on the river 100 times a day. That is the practice. The art is in the gentleness of the release each and every time. Let us make this a tangible ritual. Find a moment of quiet, close your eyes, and allow your breath to deepen. Now, bring to mind something you are clinging to. It could be a person, a memory, a fear, an outcome. Do not judge it or fight it. Simply allow it to be present. Now, in your mind's eye, give it a physical form. Imagine you are holding it in your hands. What is its shape, its weight, its texture? Is it a sharp stone, a heavy chain, a wilting flower? Hold it for a moment and acknowledge it. Thank it for what it may have taught you, even if the lesson was painful. Now, visualize that you are standing on the bank of a great flowing river. The water is moving steadily, powerfully, and peacefully. Walk to the water's edge. Look down at the object in your hands. Make the conscious choice. With a slow, deliberate movement, open your hands and let the object drop into the river. Release it completely. Watch as the current takes it. Do not follow it. Do not worry about where it is going. Your only task is to watch it disappear. And then turn your attention to your own two hands. Feel their lightness. Feel their emptiness. Feel the new space you have just created. Stand there for a moment with your open, empty hands and simply be. This is the art you must practice. It is the master skill of the wise. Letting go is a quiet act of courage, a private declaration of freedom. It is the choice to stop carrying the dead weight of the past so that you can have the strength to build the future. Your memories do not need your constant supervision. Your anxieties do not need your anxious grip. They are clouds that must be allowed to pass, not stones to be hoarded. Open your hands. Release what is already gone. Let go of what was never yours to control. In the vast, beautiful, and sacred space that you create, the life that has been waiting for you, the peace you have been seeking, will finally have room to arrive. Your world can become very small. A single problem, an impending deadline, a financial worry, an unkind word from a loved one can swell in your mind until it fills the entire horizon. It becomes the only landscape you can see, the only air you can breathe. The vast, complex, and beautiful world outside of this problem ceases to exist. You become trapped in a small, hot, airless room of your own obsessive focus, pacing the same worn track of anxiety, convinced that this room is the whole of reality. The suffering comes not just from the problem itself, but from this catastrophic loss of scale. You have placed your face so close to the canvas of your life that you can see nothing but the texture of a single frantic brushstroke, and you have mistaken it for the entire painting. This tendency to magnify our own dramas is a natural function of the unexamined ego. The ego operates from the deeply ingrained, though often unconscious, belief that it is the center of the universe. Therefore, its struggles are epic struggles, its pains are historic pains, and its anxieties are events of world-altering significance. This isn't a sign of vanity so much as a default setting of our consciousness, a kind of gravitational pull towards self-importance. This inward focus is exacerbated by a modern life lived largely indoors, mediated by screens that reflect our own concerns back at us. Our reference points for what is important become the microdramas of social media and the manufactured urgencies of the news cycle. We lose our connection to the vast, silent, non-human world, the world that has always been humanity's greatest teacher of perspective. Without the humbling context of the ancient forest, the endless ocean, or the star-filled sky. A critical email can feel like a mortal wound, and a single difficult day can feel like a failed life. This creates a painful internal division, a conflict between the magnified self and the witnessing self. The magnified self is the one lost in the drama. It is the actor on the stage, weeping and raging, utterly convinced that the play is real and that its role is of supreme importance. This is the self that is pressed up against the canvas, overwhelmed and agitated, a prisoner of its own microscopic view. It is the source of all your overwhelm. But there is another capacity within you, the witnessing self. This is the part of you that can, with conscious effort, move back from the stage into the quiet of the audience. It is the part that can step away from the canvas and see the whole painting, noticing that the frantic, dark brushstroke is just one small part of a much larger, more complex and beautiful composition. The witnessing self is not detached in a cold way, it is spacious. It acknowledges the pain of the actor, but is not consumed by it. The entire spiritual journey can be described as the practice of disidentifying from the magnified self and learning to reside in the calm, expansive awareness of the witnessing self. It is the choice to walk out of the small, hot room of your personal drama and into the cool, open air of a vaster reality. To do this, you must seek out a teacher. But this teacher is not a person. It has no words, it offers no advice, and it has no interest in your personal story. This teacher is the mountain, and its greatest lesson lies in its profound, majestic, and utter indifference to you and your problems. This is the paradox you must embrace. The mountain does not care about you, and this is the most deeply caring message you could ever receive. Its indifference is not the cold indifference of a stranger in a crowd. It is the magnificent, liberating indifference of eternity. It is the indifference of stone that was here long before your species learned to walk upright, and will be here long after all our cities have turned to dust. The mountain's gaze does not dismiss your pain. It contextualizes it. It holds it in a container so vast that the problem can no longer suffocate you. It gives you the gift of your own insignificance, and in this gift, you find an astonishing freedom. Take your most pressing anxiety, the one that has been occupying the throne of your mind. Now, in your imagination, stand at the foot of an ancient, colossal mountain. Feel the ground beneath your feet. Feel the immense, silent weight of the rock rising into the sky above you. See the hardy, wind-scoured trees clinging to its slopes. See the scars of millennia of ice and wind and rain carved into its face. This mountain has witnessed the slow grinding of glaciers. It has felt the heat of 1,000 summer suns and the cold of 1,000 winter snows. Civilizations have risen and fallen like tides at its feet. Now, in the face of this immense, silent presence, whisper your problem, speak your fear about your job, confess your heartache. The mountain does not flinch. It does not offer sympathy. It does not tremble. It simply holds the space. It absorbs your frantic human energy into its vast geological calm. And in its silent, uncaring gaze, your problem begins to shrink. The issue that filled your entire world a moment ago now seems like a fleeting cloud passing across the face of an eternal stone. The weight has not vanished, but its nature has changed. It is no longer a world-ending catastrophe. It is just a brief, human weather pattern. This is the healing power of scale. This is not just a mental exercise. It is a practice, a conscious pilgrimage to perspective that you must undertake, especially when you feel most crushed. Your task is to deliberately juxtapose your personal drama with the impersonal vastness of the world. If you live near nature, walk into it. Don't just walk through it while lost in your thoughts. Find the oldest tree, the widest field, the fastest flowing river, and truly see it. Contemplate its time scale, its reality, so different from your own. If you live in a city, look up, find the sky between the buildings. Watch the clouds, those great, silent ships of the atmosphere. moving with a logic that has nothing to do with your deadlines or your desires. And if you can, at night, go outside and look at the stars. This is perhaps the most potent medicine for a magnified self. Find a single point of light. Consider that the light from that star began its journey towards your eye long before you were born, perhaps before your nation even existed. It has traveled across an emptiness so cold and so vast that your mind cannot truly comprehend it. It is a messenger from deep time. Now, take your current, pressing anxiety, the argument you had, the bill you have to pay, and hold it up against the light of that star. Feel the truth of the situation. Feel your own smallness, your own brevity. This is not meant to induce depression. It is meant to induce a profound sense of relief. It is the relief of knowing that you and your problems are a tiny, temporary, and beautiful part of a staggeringly immense and ancient mystery. You are a flicker of consciousness on a speck of dust, spinning through an unimaginable vastness. This realization does not solve your problem, but it dissolves the frantic, egotistical urgency that surrounds it. Do not ask the mountain for sympathy. It has none to give. Ask it for scale. Do not ask the ocean for answers. It will only give you the sound of its own breathing. Ask it for rhythm. Do not ask the stars for guidance. They are burning spheres of gas, billions of miles away. Ask them for perspective. When you learn to care less about the story of your own supreme importance, you begin to care more about the world in a different way. You start to see it not as a backdrop for your personal drama, but as a vast, interconnected system in which you have the privilege of playing a small, brief part. You stop demanding that the world bend to your will, and you start learning to align yourself with its powerful, ancient currents. The weight of your life will not disappear, but you will discover that the universe is very large and your shoulders are much broader than you believed. There is a subtle and seductive form of self-abandonment that disguises itself as compassion. It is the obsessive urge to become the caretaker of another's soul, the warden of their emotional landscape, the archaeologist of their past pains. You see a friend in turmoil, a loved one struggling, and you rush in. But you do not just offer a listening ear or a steadying hand. You go further. You take their problem and make it your own. You spend your hours analyzing their situation, devising solutions, replaying their conversations in your own mind. You become the anxious general of an army that is not yours to command. You invest your precious, finite energy raking through the cold ashes of their past mistakes or trying to fan the dying embers of their current crisis, all while a chill begins to creep into the hearth of your own heart. This compulsion is rarely as noble as it appears. Look closer, beneath the performance of care, and you will often find a sophisticated and highly effective strategy of avoidance. It is a flight from the self. It is profoundly easier to obsess over the chaos in someone else's house than to confront the quiet, unsettling mess in your own. Another person's drama is a compelling distraction. It has a clear narrative, identifiable characters, and the illusion of a solvable problem. It feels productive to work on their life. Meanwhile, your own life, with its ambiguous anxieties, its quiet callings you have been ignoring, and the hard, unglamorous work of your own growth sits neglected. You become a brilliant diagnostician for everyone's ills but your own. This is not service. It is escapism, dressed up in the virtuous robes of concern. It allows you to feel busy, important, and needed, all while you are running from the one person who needs your attention the most, you. Herein lies the quiet, heartbreaking conflict. The genuine, beautiful human impulse to connect and to help is hijacked by the ego's need to avoid its own work. A part of you, the compassionate self, truly wishes to ease the suffering of others. It is the source of empathy, the engine of love. But another part, the fearful self, sees this impulse as an escape hatch. It latches onto the other person's problem as a shield, holding it up to protect itself from having to look inward. And so, a war begins. Your desire to be a good friend, a loving partner, a caring human being, becomes entangled with your fear of your own inner silence. You give and give, but your giving is tainted by a subtle desperation. You offer advice not just to help them, but to quiet the unease in yourself. You become addicted to being the rescuer, because as long as you are rescuing someone else, you do not have to admit that you are the one who is slowly drowning. Let this truth be the light that illuminates the path back to yourself. You cannot warm another soul with a fire that has gone out. You cannot pour from an empty vessel. Your primary and most sacred duty in this life is not to the fires of others. It is to be the faithful keeper of your own inner flame. This is not selfishness. It is the fundamental precondition for any act of genuine, sustainable generosity. A fire that is well tended, that is fed with the fuel of solitude, of passion, of self-respect, of quiet joy does not need to strain to give warmth. It radiates it effortlessly. Its light becomes a beacon, its heat a sanctuary, not because it is trying to be, but because it is. To neglect your own fire in the name of service is a profound misunderstanding of what it means to serve. It is to offer ashes in place of light, and to eventually find that you have nothing left to offer but your own exhaustion. Imagine your life force is a single precious log burning brightly in the center of your being. This is your fire. Now imagine you see a friend whose fire has dwindled to cold gray ash. In your haste to help, you take your own burning log and try to carry it over to their hearth. What happens? Your log grows cold on the journey. Sparks fly off and die in the transit. By the time you arrive, you have only a smoldering piece of wood, no longer capable of igniting their pile, and you have left your own hearth dark and cold. This is the folly of trying to transfer your fire. The wise keeper of the flame does something entirely different. They stay with their own fire. They tend to it meticulously. They add the kindling of their own interests. They protect it from the winds of distraction. They stoke it with the breath of their own presence until it burns with a clean, powerful, and unwavering heat. Then, all they need to do is invite the other person to come and sit by their fire. They can share its light and its warmth. They can even take a lit brand from this powerful flame to restart their own. But the source, the original fire, remains intact, strong, and self-sufficient. Stop trying to carry your fire to others. Build your own fire so brightly that they are naturally drawn to its warmth. To begin this practice, you must become a ruthlessly honest examiner of your own motives. Before you dive headfirst into another person's crisis, before you spend another hour dissecting their life, I want you to stop and ask yourself a single, piercing question. Am I trying to light a fire for them, or am I running from the cold in myself? Be still and listen for the honest answer. There is no need for judgment. This is not about guilt. It is about awareness. If the answer reveals that you are acting from a place of avoidance, then the most loving act you can perform for them and for yourself is to gently withdraw, to turn your attention back to your own hearth. Ask yourself the questions you have been avoiding. What does my fire need right now? What fuel have I been neglecting to give it? What draft of self-betrayal has been chilling my own heart? To care for yourself in this way is not to abandon your friend. It is to begin the process of becoming a person who can actually help them, a person who can offer the genuine warmth of a full heart, not the anxious meddling of an empty one. This is your sacred responsibility, to tend to the garden of your own soul, to learn the rhythm of your own heart, to know what feeds your spirit and what depletes it. This work is quiet, unglamorous, and often invisible to others. It will not earn you applause or praise. It is the solitary work of the lighthouse keeper, polishing the lens, checking the fuel, ensuring the light is steady, not for his own sake, but for the sake of the ships he may never even meet. Your well-being is that light. It is your gift to the world, but it can only be given if it is first cultivated. Let others be responsible for their own ashes. You are not a salvager of past sorrows. You are the keeper of a living flame. Tend to it with the devotion you would give to the most holy thing in your life, because it is. And know that a single, steady flame, burning brightly in the darkness, is a far greater service to the world than 1,000 frantic figures running around with cold embers in their hands. Our world worships action. We have made a deity of busyness. A full calendar is seen as a sign of a full life, and exhaustion is worn as a badge of honor, a testament to our importance. We have been taught from a young age that our value is measured by our output, by our visible, quantifiable effort. But in this frantic cult of doing, we have forgotten a crucial truth. Not all action is created equal. There is the frantic, panicked splashing of a drowning person, their energy wasted in a chaotic fight against the water. And there is the powerful, elegant, and almost effortless stroke of a master swimmer, their body aligned with the current, each movement precise and purposeful. Both are forms of action, but one is born of fear and leads to exhaustion, while the other is born of stillness and leads to progress. We live in a society of frantic splashers, and the time has come to learn the art of the powerful stroke. The addiction to what can be called false action is a deeply ingrained response to inner turmoil. Stillness is profoundly uncomfortable for the anxious mind. In the quiet, we are forced to feel what we are running from: our loneliness, our uncertainty, our lack of clear purpose. And so busyness becomes our anesthetic. We construct a whirlwind of activity of answering emails, attending meetings, running errands, engaging in debates, not because these actions are essential, but because the whirlwind itself deafens us to the disquieting whispers of our own soul. As long as we are moving, we do not have to feel. Furthermore, this frantic activity is rewarded. Society applauds the person who is always on, the one who replies to emails at midnight, the one whose schedule is a testament to their perceived demand. We act, therefore, not from a place of authentic need, but from a desire to be seen as valuable, as committed, as important. We create the illusion of progress through a flurry of motion, mistaking the turbulence for forward movement. This creates a conflict between two opposing forces within you, the anxious doer and the wise being. The anxious doer operates under the tyranny of the immediate. Its mantra is, "Don't just stand there, do something." It is driven by a deep-seated fear, the fear of being judged as lazy, the fear of falling behind, the fear of the unknown. Its actions are reactive, hasty, and born of panic. It is the part of you that sends the angry email and spends the next day managing the fallout, the part that makes a rash decision just to end the discomfort of indecision, the part that fills every moment with noise to avoid the terror of a quiet mind. Its path is one of perpetual motion and perpetual regret. Diametrically opposed to this is the wise being. This is the part of you that understands the profound power of the opposite mantra. Don't just do something, stand there. It knows that the most effective, potent, and irreversible actions are almost always preceded by a period of deep stillness. It has the courage to wait for clarity. It is willing to sit in the discomfort of not knowing, trusting that the right path will reveal itself. Its actions, when they come, are not frantic splashes. They are precise, powerful, and aligned. They emerge from a place of centered purpose, not from a place of chaotic fear. The great revelation, the truth that can shift you from the frantic to the potent, is this: the power of your action is directly proportional to the depth of the stillness from which it emerges. True action is not born of a faster, more frantic mind. It is born of a quieter, more spacious one. Clarity is the mother of effective action. Stillness is the womb of power. You have been trying to solve your problems by adding more energy, more thought, more speed. But the solution is to subtract. It is to become quiet enough to hear the subtle signal beneath the noise, to become still enough to see the clear path through the overgrown thicket of your own anxiety. Imagine false action as a shallow, noisy stream. It rushes frantically over a rocky bed, its energy scattered in 1,000 directions. It makes a great deal of sound, it kicks up a great deal of spray, but it has very little real force. It can move pebbles, but not boulders. Now imagine true action as a deep, wide river. On the surface, it may appear calm, almost motionless. There is no frantic noise, no chaotic splashing, but beneath that serene surface, an immense and silent power is moving. It flows from a single, clear source, and it moves with an unstoppable, unified force. It carves canyons through stone, not with noise and haste, but with the silent, patient, and overwhelming power of its deep, aligned current. Your life's work is to stop being the frantic, noisy stream, and to cultivate the inner conditions to become the deep river. Consider the master archer. A novice, anxious to prove himself, shoots arrow after arrow, his movements rushed, his breath shallow. He hopes that by sheer volume, one of his arrows will find the mark. The master archer does the opposite. The vast majority of her time is spent in absolute stillness. She plants her feet. She anchors her body. She draws the bowstring back, feeling the tension in a single, unified line of force. She quiets her mind, silencing all thought. She aligns her breath, exhaling slowly, becoming one with the arrow, the bow, the target. There is a long, pregnant moment of perfect, potent stillness. The release of the arrow is the final, almost effortless, part of the process. The arrow flies true not because of the violent energy of its release, but because of the perfect, silent alignment that preceded it. The power was not in the doing, but in the quality of the being that came before. Your actions are your arrows. To give them power and direction, you must first learn the discipline of the archer's stillness. To cultivate this in your own life, you must learn to practice the principle of the deliberate pause. Before you engage in any action of consequence, before you write the important email, before you enter the difficult conversation, before you make the significant decision, give yourself the gift of a pause. This is not a pause for more frantic thinking, for rehearsing lines, or for strategizing. That is still the mind of the anxious doer. This is a pause for stillness. Find a quiet space, close your eyes, and for just 3 minutes, bring your full attention to your breath. Let the inner chatter, the chorus of anxieties and urgencies, begin to settle. Then, hold a simple question in your mind. Do not try to answer it. Simply hold it in the quiet space. Ask, what is the truest action here? Or, what is required of me now? Let go of the need to manufacture an answer. Trust that the answer will arise from the stillness itself, not from the frantic efforts of your mind. Often, what emerges from this quiet is a sense of clarity that is startling in its simplicity. The right action feels clean, calm, and self-evident. Stop worshiping at the altar of busyness. Care less about the appearance of being productive and more about the actual substance of your actions. Most of what we call action is simply a sophisticated form of procrastination from the one action that truly matters, the act of becoming still and finding our own center. Let go of the need to splash and flail. Have the courage to be still until you know which way the current flows. Learn to draw your power not from the speed of your mind, but from the depth of your silence. Let your actions flow from that stillness, like the master archer's arrow, like a great river moving silently and unstoppably to the sea. You will find that you do less, and yet you accomplish more than you ever thought possible. We have been sold a myth, a seductive and damaging lie that has become a core tenet of our modern work ethic, the myth of the multitasker. We hold up the image of the busy professional juggling phone calls, emails, and multiple projects simultaneously as an icon of efficiency and power. We have been taught to aspire to this state of divided focus, believing it is the key to getting more done. But this image is not one of power. It is a portrait of profound inner chaos. Multitasking is not the art of doing many things at once. It is the art of doing many things badly. It is the practice of fragmenting your attention so completely that you are never truly present for any single task, leaving a trail of shallow work, missed details, and a deeply exhausted soul in your wake. Our attraction to this fragmented way of being is driven by a deep and pervasive fear. We live in a world of infinite streams of information, and we have developed a terror of missing out. To focus on a single task, to become absorbed in a book, a conversation, or a piece of work feels like a risk. While our attention is dedicated to one thing, 100 other things are happening. Emails are arriving, messages are accumulating, headlines are changing. The desire to multitask is a defensive posture against a world that feels like it is moving too fast. We keep all the channels open, all the tabs active, hoping to catch everything, and in the process, we truly grasp nothing. This anxiety is chemically reinforced by our own brains. Each new notification, each switch to a new task, provides a small, fleeting hit of dopamine, a reward for novelty. Our nervous systems become addicted to this low-grade, constant stimulation, making the sustained, deep focus required for meaningful work feel difficult and unappealing by comparison. This creates a painful divide in your consciousness, a war between the scattered mind and the unified mind. The scattered mind is the mind of the multitasker. Its attention is like a handful of pebbles thrown into a still pond, creating a chaotic pattern of 100 shallow, interfering ripples. It is a mind in a state of perpetual context switching. With each jump from email to spreadsheet to instant message, it pays a heavy tax in mental energy and focus. The scattered mind lives in a state of low-grade anxiety, always feeling behind, always aware of the other things it is not doing. At the end of a long day, it is utterly exhausted, yet it looks back on a field of half-finished tasks and feels a deep sense of dissatisfaction. In stark opposition stands the unified mind. This is the mind that has committed itself to a single task. Its attention is like a single, heavy stone dropped into the pond, creating one deep, powerful, and resonant wave. This is the mind in a state of flow. Time seems to melt away. The boundary between the self and the activity dissolves. This mind is calm, absorbed, creative, and profoundly effective. It produces work of quality and substance. It finishes the day with a clean sense of fatigue, the satisfying tiredness that comes from a worthy effort, not the frayed nerve exhaustion of a fragmented spirit. Your daily work is a battleground where you must repeatedly choose which mind you will inhabit. The revelation that can lead you to freedom is this: to give one thing your full attention is an act of supreme respect. To give it only part of your attention is a quiet act of betrayal. This is true for everything that matters. When you are with a loved one but are also scrolling through your phone, you are betraying the moment of connection. When you are attempting to write, or paint, or create, but are also checking your email, you are betraying the creative impulse that requires your full presence to manifest. Most importantly, when you allow your mind to be constantly scattered, you are betraying your own soul, which craves the deep peace and satisfaction of unified consciousness. The path to excellence and inner peace is not through doing more things, but through doing one thing with more of yourself. To care less about juggling every ball is to finally have the freedom to hold one object with the reverence it deserves. Imagine a master craftsman in his workshop, a watchmaker, a calligrapher, a luthier. His space is a sanctuary of focus. Every tool has its place. There is no frantic energy, no chaotic juggling. There is only a deep, reverent quiet. He is not answering emails while he sets a jewel. He is not on a conference call while he carves a piece of wood. He is wholly dedicated to the task at hand. His breath, his mind, and his hands are unified in a single, sacred purpose. The extraordinary quality of his work, its beauty and its integrity, is not merely a result of his skill. It is a direct manifestation of his undivided attention. His focus is a form of love for his craft. Now, contrast him with the image of a modern office worker, with 20 tabs open on his browser, his phone buzzing with notifications, his attention pulled in a dozen directions every few minutes. He is a master of nothing, a servant to everything that demands his attention. He is not a craftsman. He is a switchboard. and the frantic energy he mistakes for productivity is simply the sound of his own spirit being frayed. To escape this trap, you must become the fierce and unapologetic guardian of your own focus. You must build a fortress around the single task. Choose your most important work for the day. It might be a difficult report, a creative project, or a crucial conversation. Then, create a sacred and inviolable container of time for it. This might be 90 minutes. It might be only 25. The duration is less important than its sanctity. During this block of time, you will do only this one thing. This is a non-negotiable pact with yourself. To create this container, you must perform a ritual of disconnection. Turn your phone completely off, not on silent, not face down, and place it in another room. Close every tab on your computer that is not essential to the task at hand. Close your email program. Shut the door to your office. If necessary, inform your colleagues or family that you are entering a period of deep work and cannot be disturbed. For this short period, you are the master craftsman in his workshop. The rest of the world and its endless demands can wait. It will still be there when you are done. At first, this practice will feel uncomfortable. Your mind, addicted to distraction, will rebel. It will generate 1,000 urgent reasons to break your focus. You will feel the phantom buzz of your phone in your pocket. This is the withdrawal from the drug of constant stimulation. Your task is to sit with this discomfort, to notice the urges without acting on them. Like training a wild horse, you must gently but firmly guide your attention back to the single task, again and again. Each time you do so, you are rewiring your brain. You are teaching it that you are the master, not the servant of your impulses. You are reclaiming your own mind. With practice, the period of resistance will shorten. You will find yourself dropping into a state of deep focus more easily. You will begin to taste the profound satisfaction of the unified mind. This is not a productivity hack. It is a spiritual discipline. Stop being the frantic juggler, impressing no one and exhausting yourself. The world does not need more of your divided attention. It needs the very best of you. And the best of you is only available when all of you is present. Choose your jewel for the day. Enter the quiet sanctuary of your focus. Close the door to the noisy, demanding world. And give that one task, that one conversation, that one moment, the most precious and sacred gift you possess, your full, undivided, and loving attention. In that singular focus, you will not just create better work, you will begin to cultivate a unified, peaceful, and powerful self. There is a profound hunger in the human heart, a hunger not for food nor for wealth, but for approval. It is a ghostly appetite that no amount of praise can ever truly satisfy. From a young age, we are trained to look for ourselves in the eyes of others. We search for our reflection in our parents' smiles, in our teachers' encouragement, in the acceptance of our peers. As we grow, the search continues, but the mirrors simply change. We now look for our value in a partner's affection, in a boss's promotion, in the number of likes on a screen, in the sound of distant, anonymous applause. Our sense of self becomes a fragile, outsourced entity, a flickering candle that we have given the entire world the power to either shield or extinguish with a single breath. We become beggars, holding out an empty cup and asking for the spare change of other people's good opinions. This is not living. It is a state of perpetual, low-grade servitude. This desperate need for external validation is a ghost of our own past. As children, our very survival was contingent upon the approval of our caregivers. Their praise meant safety, warmth, and nourishment. Their disapproval signaled the terrifying threat of abandonment. This ancient, powerful dynamic becomes deeply wired into our nervous systems. As adults, we carry this wiring into a world that is no longer our nursery. We unconsciously project the role of the all-powerful parent onto our employers, our social circles, and our romantic partners. We work not just for a salary, but for a pat on the head. We contort ourselves in relationships not just for love, but for the reassurance that we will not be abandoned. This pattern is often rooted in a hollow center, a lack of a strongly defined, internally generated sense of self. When we do not know on a fundamental level who we are and what we stand for, we feel an inner void. External validation then becomes a temporary patch, a fleeting moment of feeling solid and real. But the patch never holds, the feeling always fades, and we are left hungrier than before, constantly seeking the next fix. This creates a deep and exhausting conflict between two aspects of your being, the validation seeker and the sovereign self. The validation seeker is the performer, the people pleaser, the chameleon. Its primary objective is to be liked, to be approved of, to avoid conflict, and to be seen as good, smart, or successful. It is a master at reading a room, at sensing what others want, and then becoming that thing. It will soften its opinions, swallow its truth, and betray its own needs to earn a moment of acceptance. It lives in a state of high alert, constantly monitoring the faces and reactions of others, trying to gauge its own worth from their fleeting expressions. It is a life of profound anxiety, because a self that is defined by others is a self that can be destroyed by others at any moment. Opposing this is the quiet, dignified presence of the sovereign self. This is the part of you that is anchored in a reality deeper than public opinion. Its actions are guided not by the shifting winds of social approval, but by an internal compass of its own values and integrity. The sovereign self is not arrogant or callous. It does not ignore the world. It simply understands that its fundamental worth is innate and not subject to external negotiation. It is willing to be misunderstood, disliked, or even rejected in the service of what it knows to be true. It seeks not to be popular, but to be authentic. Its great desire is not to be praised by others, but to be respected by itself. The great battle of your maturity is the struggle between these two forces. It is the moment-to-moment choice between the sweet, addictive poison of external validation and the clean, nourishing water of your own self-respect. Here is the truth that can set you free. The validation you are so desperately seeking is a poisoned well. It quenches your thirst for a single, fleeting moment, but with every sip, it makes you weaker and more dependent on the source. It erodes your capacity for self-trust. The only water that can ever truly and deeply satisfy the thirst of your soul is the water that you draw from the well of your own integrity. True self-reliance is not about refusing all help or connection. It is the radical act of becoming your own primary source of validation. It is the decision to stop asking the world, "Am I good enough?" and to start asking yourself, "Am I being true?" You have been living in a hall of funhouse mirrors. Every person you meet, every institution you are a part of, offers you a different, distorted reflection of yourself. One mirror, held up by a loved one, shows you as brilliant and capable. Another, held by a rival, shows you as foolish and weak. The mirror of your career may reflect you as successful, while the mirror of your private life reflects you as a failure. You have been running frantically through this hall, trying to find a reflection you can trust, trying to piece together a coherent image from these monstrous and flattering lies. It is a maddening and impossible task. The journey to self-reliance is the act of having the courage to stop looking in those mirrors. It is to turn your back on the entire hall. The real work is to take up a soft cloth and begin the slow, patient, and lifelong task of polishing the one mirror that matters, the one within. This inner mirror does not show you if you are popular or successful or admired. It does not reflect the world's judgment. It reflects only one, simple, devastatingly clear image, the truth of your own character. To begin this polishing, you must institute a new practice, a quiet, daily ritual of self-appraisal that is for you and you alone. At the end of each day, create a space between the world's noise and the oblivion of sleep. Let go of the day's external results, the praise you may have received, the criticism you may have endured. They are irrelevant here. In this quiet sanctuary, you will conduct a private, non-judgmental internal audit. Ask yourself one or two simple questions. Today, in my actions and my words, did I act with integrity? Today, was I true to the values I claim to hold? Today, did I respect myself? There is no one to impress here. The answer is for you alone. The goal is not to achieve a perfect score of self-approval every day. The goal is to consistently and lovingly shift your gaze from the external scoreboard of public opinion to the internal compass of self-respect. It is the practice of learning to trust that your own quiet verdict is the only one that has the power to define you. This is the great work of becoming an adult, not in age, but in spirit. It is the weaning of the self from the milk of praise onto the solid food of integrity. To care less about the applause or the condemnation of the crowd is to finally be free to hear the clear, steady voice of your own conscience. It is a difficult path, and at first it will feel lonely. You will feel the phantom limb of your need for approval, and it will ache. But with every choice you make that is aligned with your own truth, even in the face of disapproval, your sovereign self will grow stronger. The inner mirror will become clearer. Stop searching for your face in the broken, distorted reflections of the world. They will never show you who you are. Have the courage to turn away from them. Take up the cloth and begin the patient work. It is the most important work you will ever do. For when that inner mirror is finally clear, it will not just show you your face, it will show you your soul. The word no is a locked door, a slammed gate, a bridge blown up. In our social grammar, it is a word of conflict, of rejection, of negativity. We are taught from a young age that the path to being liked and accepted is the path of yes. Yes, I can help. Yes, I have time. Yes, I will take that on. We learn to see no as a selfish, confrontational act, and we avoid it at all costs. But this is a profound and damaging misunderstanding, a lie born of fear that keeps us in a state of perpetual servitude. A conscious, deliberate no is not a rejection of another person. It is a profound affirmation of your own life. It is not a wall to keep the world out, but the strong, clear boundary of a sanctuary where your time, your energy, and your focus can be dedicated to what truly matters. It is the most vital and sacred word in the vocabulary of a well-lived life. Our difficulty with this simple two-letter word is rooted in a deep fear of social friction. We are terrified of disappointing others. The imagined look of displeasure on a friend's face, the potential awkwardness following a refused request from a colleague. We experience these possibilities as genuine threats. This fear is a direct descendant of our need for external validation. We want to be seen as helpful, as capable, as agreeable, because we have been conditioned to believe that our value lies in our utility to others. We feel a strange and unearned guilt for possessing our own time and energy, as if they are not truly ours to allocate. We feel that others have a right to them, and that to deny a request is to commit an act of profound selfishness. And so, to avoid the momentary discomfort of a difficult conversation, we say yes. We agree to a commitment that we know will breed resentment in our hearts, that will drain our resources, and that will steal time away from our own priorities. We choose the slow, chronic poison of self-betrayal over the short-term antidote of an honest, difficult word. This creates a conflict between two deeply ingrained patterns, the compulsive yes and the conscious number. The compulsive yes is a reflex, an automatic response triggered by the fear of disapproval. It is a weak and flimsy yes offered before the request has been fully considered, before our own capacity has been consulted. It is the yes of the people pleaser, and it is ultimately a lie. It is a promise made by your fear that your true self has no intention of keeping. Because this yes is so freely and thoughtlessly given, it has no value. It is a currency that has been devalued by hyperinflation. The person who says yes to everything is soon respected by no one, for their agreement is meaningless. Their commitment is unreliable. They are a ship with no rudder. pushed about by the winds of every external request. In opposition stands the conscious number. This is the voice of the sovereign self, the calm guardian of your inner fire. This self understands the fundamental economic law of existence. Your time and energy are your most precious and finite forms of capital. They cannot be created, only spent. This self knows that every yes is an investment, and it refuses to make bad investments. When faced with a request, it does not react. It pauses, it assesses. It weighs the request not against the desire to be liked, but against its own core priorities, its own well-being. Its no, when it comes, is not born of anger or aggression. It is calm, clear, firm, and often compassionate. And because its no is so deliberate and so honest, its yes becomes a thing of immense power and value. A yes from this self is a true and sacred gift. It is a conscious, wholehearted allocation of precious life force. It is a promise that will be kept. Here is the truth you must integrate into your very bones. Every time you say yes to a request that does not align with your spirit, you are simultaneously saying a silent no to something that does. You are saying no to the book you wanted to read, no to the quiet walk you needed, no to the project that ignites your passion, no to the rest your body was crying out for. Your indiscriminate yes is a constant, quiet betrayal of the life that is waiting to be lived by you. You think you are serving others, but you are really just abandoning yourself. The conscious no is what reverses this. It is the tool that clears the debris of other people's priorities from your path. A no is what creates the sacred, empty space into which your own powerful, authentic yes can finally step forward. Imagine your life, your energy, and your focus as a great walled city. For years, you have been taught that a good ruler keeps the gates wide open. You have let anyone and everyone wander in every request, every demand, every distraction. As a result, your city is in chaos. Its resources are plundered. Its streets are crowded and noisy. Its citizens, your own vital energies, are exhausted and demoralized. It is not a thriving metropolis. It is a city under siege from its own lack of boundaries. The practice of saying no is the act of installing a wise and discerning gatekeeper. This gatekeeper's job is not to keep everyone out. It is to assess who and what is allowed to enter. The gatekeeper asks of every request, does this serve the well-being and the core mission of this city? When the answer is no, the gate is kept closed, not with anger, but with quiet, firm authority. The gatekeeper's no is what protects the city from being overrun. It is what allows for peace, for order, and for the prosperity of the kingdom within. Learning to say no is a skill, and it requires practice. You must first unlearn the reflex of the immediate yes. Train yourself to pause. When a request is made, let your first response always be a variation of this powerful phrase, "Thank you for asking. Let me check my schedule and my priorities, and I will get back to you." This simple sentence is a revolutionary act. It buys you time. It honors the person asking. And most importantly, it moves you from a position of reaction to one of conscious choice. In that space you have created, you can consult your true feelings, not your fears. When you have decided that the answer is no, deliver it with clarity, kindness, and brevity. You do not need to offer a long, elaborate excuse. Excuses are a sign of guilt, and they weaken your position. A simple, honest statement is all that is required. "Thank you for the opportunity, but I don't have the capacity to take that on right now." Or, "My focus is dedicated to another project at the moment, so I'll have to decline." Or, simply, "That doesn't work for me." These statements are clean. They are respectful to the other person, and, most critically, they are respectful to yourself. They do not invite debate. They state a reality. Stop leaving the gates to your inner kingdom unguarded. Appoint the gatekeeper of a conscious no, and empower them to be discerning, firm, and wise. Every time you say no to the trivial, you are saying yes to the essential. Every time you say no to a distraction, you are saying yes to your devotion. Every time you say no to an obligation born of guilt, you are saying yes to an action born of love. Guard your gates with courage. It is not an act of selfishness. It is the fundamental act of self-possession, the prerequisite for building an inner kingdom of peace, purpose, and strength, a kingdom truly worthy of its sovereign. There is a new poverty in our time, a poverty not of material things, but of empty moments. We have become pathologically afraid of the state of boredom. We treat it as a personal failure, a void to be vanquished, a dragon to be slain with the glittering sword of endless stimulation. Observe the modern human in a moment of stillness, waiting for a coffee, riding in an elevator, sitting in a park. Notice the twitch, the involuntary, almost spasmodic reach for the digital pacifier. We plug our ears with podcasts, we glaze our eyes with scrolling feeds, we fill every spare second with a manufactured sliver of entertainment or information. We have become so adept at fighting off boredom that we have forgotten why it exists. But in our relentless war against this perceived enemy, we have unintentionally declared war on our own creativity, on our own intuition, and on our own capacity for deep, original thought. We have been trying to slay a dragon that was, in fact, guarding a great treasure. Our phobia of boredom is a symptom of a deeply unwell culture. It is born, firstly, from the cult of productivity. We have been conditioned to believe that every moment must be optimized, that to be still is to be wasteful. An unstructured minute in which nothing is happening feels like a dereliction of duty. It induces a vague but powerful guilt. We feel we are falling behind in a race with no finish line. Secondly, we have been rewired by the entertainment imperative. The on-demand world has created the expectation of perpetual, effortless stimulation. We have come to see entertainment not as a luxury, but as a right. Boredom, in this context, feels like a technical glitch, a failure of the world to adequately cater to our desires. But the deepest root of this fear is the one we are least willing to face. It is a fear of ourselves. Boredom is a state of low external input, and in that quiet, the inner world makes itself known. Without the constant barrage of distractions, we are left alone in the room of our own mind. The anxieties we have been ignoring, the existential questions we have been shelving, the quiet sadness we have been outrunning, they all begin to emerge from the shadows. And so we reach for the phone, not just for entertainment, but for escape. This creates a conflict between two warring parts of your psyche: the stimulation addict and the deep self. The stimulation addict is the restless, surface-level mind. It has a desperately short attention span and a low tolerance for anything that is not immediately engaging. It craves novelty, speed, and constant input. It skims, it scrolls, it swipes. It equates stillness with a kind of death. This is the part of you that feels a rising panic in a quiet room, the part that opens 20 tabs on your browser, flitting between them like a frantic hummingbird, drawing no real nectar from any of them. In stark contrast is the deep self. This is your creative and contemplative core. It is the part of you that knows, on an intuitive level, that great ideas are not found in the noisy marketplace of information. They are grown in the silent, dark soil of unstructured time. The deep self craves the space to daydream, to connect disparate thoughts, to follow a whimsical notion down a rabbit hole, to simply be. This self knows that boredom is not an enemy, but an essential precondition for its own flourishing. In our overstimulated world, the stimulation addict is constantly being fed, while the deep self is slowly starving to death. Here is the truth that can begin to nourish that starving part of you. Boredom is not the absence of something. It is the presence of an opportunity. It is the cleansing of the palate. It is the moment the mind, finally liberated from the tyranny of reacting to external data, can begin to perform its own most essential and mysterious work. Modern neuroscience has a name for what happens in the bored brain. It is the activation of the default mode network. This is not an idle state. it is a profoundly active one. In this mode, the brain begins to connect disparate regions, to consolidate memories, to project itself into the future, and to engage in the kind of associative thinking that is the very bedrock of creativity. Boredom is the doorway to your own subconscious mind. It is when the scattered pieces of your knowledge and experience, left alone in a quiet room, finally begin to talk to each other and create something entirely new. Imagine your mind as a farmer's field. A foolish farmer, driven by short-sighted greed, will plant the same crop on the same field, season after season, without rest. For a time, the yields might be high, but soon the soil becomes exhausted, depleted of its vital nutrients. The crops become weak, the harvests meager. The field becomes a barren wasteland. The wise farmer knows that the most productive thing he can do for his field is, periodically, to do nothing to it at all. He must let it lie fallow. To an outside observer, the fallow field looks empty, useless, boring. It is a symbol of inactivity, but the farmer knows that an invisible, profound process of healing and restoration is taking place. Microbes are enriching the soil, nutrients are being replenished. The land is resting, gathering its strength for a future harvest that will be far more abundant than if it had been relentlessly exploited. Your mind is this field. You have been planting it, season after season, without rest. Boredom is the sacred, necessary, and profoundly productive act of letting your mind lie fallow. To reclaim this fertile ground, you must have the courage to intentionally create it. You cannot wait for boredom to happen. You must schedule it. You must make a conscious ritual of unscheduling. Look at your calendar and block out a period of time. It could be an hour on a Sunday afternoon, or just 20 minutes during your lunch break. Label it fallow time. During this period, you must abide by a single sacred rule. You are forbidden from consuming any form of passive entertainment and forbidden from engaging in any goal-oriented, productive task. No podcasts, no videos, no music with lyrics, no scrolling through feeds, no checking email, no organizing your closet, no making a to-do list. What can you do? You can go for a walk with no destination and no headphones. You can sit in a chair and look out the window. You can lie on the floor and stare at the ceiling. Your only goal is to be aimless, to be present with the sensation of having nothing to do. At first, this practice will likely feel like a form of torture. Your mind, the stimulation addict, will scream in protest. It will thrash and writhe. It will offer you 1,000 seemingly critical tasks you could be doing. It will tell you that you are wasting your life. You will feel a deep, physical restlessness, an urge to move, to do, to consume. Your task is to simply endure it. Do not fight the restlessness. Observe it. Do not judge the boredom. Allow it to wash over you. See this discomfort not as a sign of failure, but as a sign that the detoxification process is working. You are weaning your mind off its drug of choice. You are teaching it, through direct experience, that it can survive without constant input, and if you persist, something remarkable will happen. The initial wave of agitation will subside, and in the quiet that follows, something new will stir. A forgotten memory may surface. A novel solution to a problem you've been wrestling with may appear as if from nowhere. A profound sense of peace may settle over you. You will have passed through the sterile desert of restlessness and arrived in the fertile ground of true boredom. Stop seeing boredom as a problem to be solved. See it as a nutrient your soul desperately needs. It is the space where the dust of your mind can settle, revealing the clarity that lies beneath. It is the silence in which you can finally hear your own voice. Have the courage to let the vibrant, productive fields of your mind lie fallow for a time. Endure the quiet, the emptiness, the seeming unproductivity of the winter season. Trust in the hidden processes of restoration. For if you do, you will find that when the spring of inspiration returns, you will be capable of a creative harvest, more rich, more original, and more beautiful than you ever dared to imagine. There is a specter haunting our modern world, a ghost that lives in our homes, our workplaces, and our minds. It is the ghost of more. Its voice is a constant, seductive whisper, promising that fulfillment is just around the corner. "You are not yet complete," it murmurs. "The next purchase will make you feel whole. The next promotion will make you feel secure. The next level of success will finally bring you peace." And so we listen, we run, we accumulate, we strive. We live in a perpetual, low-grade fever of inadequacy, a chronic illness of dissatisfaction, never realizing that the hunger is not a sign of what we lack, but a symptom of the sickness itself. The pursuit of more is a race with no finish line, and its only guaranteed prize is the persistent, gnawing feeling that you are not yet enough. This trap is engineered with exquisite psychological precision. You are running on what is known as the hedonic treadmill. You work for months or years to attain a goal, the new car, the bigger house, the coveted job title. When you finally achieve it, there is a brief, exhilarating spike of happiness, but it does not last. Very quickly, this new reality becomes your baseline. The thrill fades. The car becomes just a mode of transportation. The house becomes just a collection of rooms to be cleaned. And the ghost of more returns, whispering that the next thing, the even better thing, is what you truly need. This internal treadmill is now supercharged by the sickness of comparison. Your sense of well-being is no longer measured against your own needs, but against the curated, fictionalized highlight reels of billions of other lives. You scroll through images of perfect vacations, perfect bodies, perfect careers, and with every swipe, you are administering to yourself a small dose of poison, a reminder of your own perceived deficiency. It is an unwinnable game, designed to keep you feeling perpetually poor, no matter how rich your life actually is. This frantic acquisition is not just about material comfort, it is about identity. We have been taught to build the very structure of our self-esteem out of external things. I have, therefore I am. My possessions are props for my personality. My achievements are the pillars of my worth. This creates a deep and painful inner conflict between the spirit of lack and the spirit of enough. The spirit of lack is the hungry ghost. It lives exclusively in the future and the conditional. Its attention is always fixed on the horizon, on what is missing, on the gap between what is and what could be. It discounts and dismisses the blessings of the present as unremarkable, as simply the starting point for the next race. It is a mind of constant, anxious calculation. Even when it succeeds, the satisfaction is hollow, immediately replaced by the anxiety of the next objective. It can never rest. In opposition is the quiet, luminous spirit of enough. This is the mind of quiet abundance. It lives here, in the present. Its attention is not on what is missing, but on what is. It is a mind of gratitude, of appreciation, of savoring. This does not mean it is passive or devoid of ambition. The spirit of enough can still create, build, and strive, but it does so from a place of profound fullness, not from a place of desperate need. It acts for the love of the process, for the joy of expression, not because it needs a particular outcome to validate its existence. The conflict between these two spirits is the central battle for your peace. In every moment, you are choosing where to place your focus, on the one thing you do not have, or on the 99 beautiful things you do. You are choosing between the endless anxiety of striving and the deep, abiding peace of having already arrived. Here is the simple, radical truth that can end the war. True wealth is not found in having more. It is found in needing less. Abundance is not a number in your bank account. It is a state of being in your own mind. You are not poor because of what you lack. You are poor because your definition of enough is broken and perpetually expanding. Freedom is not getting everything you could possibly want. Freedom is the ability to genuinely, deeply want what you already have. This insight moves the entire locus of control from the chaotic, unpredictable external world to the sacred, manageable inner world. You cannot control the economy, you cannot control what others have, but you can, with practice, cultivate the boundaries of your own desires. Think of your desire as a cup you are trying to fill. The spirit of lack believes it must fill a vast, bottomless barrel. It pours endless streams of money, accolades, and experiences into it, but the level never rises. The container is broken, and all the effort is wasted. The spirit of enough does not try to find more water. It has the wisdom to choose a smaller cup. It chooses a simple, beautiful, and intact vessel. This cup does not require an ocean to be filled. A few drops of rain are sufficient. It is a cup that is full because it is small. Its fullness is a result of its own humble, perfect boundaries. The great work of your life is to stop trying to fill the barrel, and instead to find and cherish your own simple cup. To begin this work, you must retrain your mind to see the riches it constantly overlooks. A simple gratitude list is a start, but there is a more potent practice. Tonight, when you are lying in your bed, I want you to perform an act of subtractive gratitude. It is an act of imagination. First, with your eyes closed, mentally subtract a fundamental blessing from your life. Imagine, for just a moment, that you do not have a roof over your head. Truly feel it. Feel the vulnerability, the cold, the fear of having no safe place to rest. Dwell in that feeling for 30 seconds. Then, with a conscious act of will, return to the present moment. Feel the weight of your blankets. Feel the softness of your pillow. Feel the solid, silent protection of the walls around you. Let the feeling of immense, staggering wealth flood your entire being. You are not just thinking you are grateful for your home. You are feeling the abundance of it in your very bones. Now, do it again. Picture a person whom you love dearly. Imagine your life without them. Feel the genuine, sharp ache of that absence, the silence where their voice should be, the emptiness where their presence should be. Let the reality of that loss settle upon you for a moment. Then open your eyes to the truth. They are here. Their love is a real and present force in your life. Feel the wave of gratitude, so powerful it almost hurts. This is not a morbid exercise. It is a powerful antidote to the poison of taking things for granted. By touching the imagined pain of loss, you reawaken yourself to the unbelievable fortune of the present. You shock your system out of its hedonic complacency. This practice does not just show you your blessings, it makes you feel the immense weight and beauty of them. Stop running the race. The prize it promises is a mirage. The only thing you will find at the finish line is a deeper exhaustion and a new starting line for another, longer race. This is not a call to apathy or mediocrity. It is a call to sanity. It is an invitation to build your life on the solid bedrock of contentment rather than on the shifting quicksand of perpetual desire. Let the world scream for more speed, more stuff, more status. Have the courage to stand still. Have the courage to choose a smaller cup. Define your own beautiful, simple, and attainable enough. And in the quiet confidence of that statement, in the profound peace of that single thought, I have enough. I am enough. You will discover a richness and a freedom that all the treasures of the world cannot buy. Ask yourself a simple question: who are you? The answer that likely comes to mind is a collection of labels. You are your name, your profession, your role in your family. You are a lawyer, a mother, an artist. You might go deeper and identify with your personality traits. I am an anxious person. I am a determined person. I am a failure. Or you might identify with your emotions as they arise. I am sad. I am angry. For your entire life, you have been carefully constructing the house of your identity out of these transient materials, out of thoughts, feelings, roles, and circumstances. But this is a house built on sand. When the storms of life come, as they inevitably do, this house begins to crumble. When you lose the job, The role of successful professional is torn away. When a relationship ends, the identity of partner dissolves. When a happy mood is replaced by a sad one, the happy person vanishes. And in that collapse you feel that you, your very self, are being annihilated. Our compulsion to identify with the fleeting aspects of our experience is a trick of the mind. The mind is a labeling machine. It loves to categorize and define in order to make sense of the world. It applies this same crude logic to the profound mystery of your own being, creating a neat but brittle checklist of who you are. These labels roles, emotions, thoughts, feel solid and tangible. It is easier to grasp onto the identity of, I am a teacher, or I am feeling angry, than it is to grasp onto the formless, silent awareness that is experiencing these things. We have become so fixated on the furniture in the room of our consciousness that we have forgotten we are the room itself. To let go of these labels feels like stepping into an empty void. The ego is terrified of this emptiness, for it is a storyteller that fears its story will end. It would rather cling to a painful identity than have no identity at all. This creates a life of profound instability, a constant, exhausting ride on an emotional roller coaster. This is the experience of the identified self. This is the self that is completely fused with the contents of its experience. When a wave of sadness washes through the mind, the identified self declares, I am sad. It does not see the sadness as a temporary weather pattern. It believes it has become the storm. When a critical thought arises, you are not good enough, the identified self accepts it as a fundamental truth of its being. I am not good enough. It is like a person watching a film who has forgotten they are in a theater. They weep with the tragic hero. They rage at the villain. They tense up in moments of suspense, believing that the flickering images on the screen are their actual life. They are a puppet, and their own thoughts and emotions are the strings. But there is another way to be. There is another self within you, a self you have forgotten but have never truly lost. This is the observing self. This is the vast, quiet, and unchanging awareness that is experiencing everything but is defined by nothing. The observing self is not the actor on the screen. It is the screen itself, the silent, luminous space upon which the entire movie of your life unfolds. It is not the character who is sad. It is the awareness that is noticing the sadness. It is not the character who is a failure. It is the awareness that is witnessing the thought of failure. The thoughts, the emotions, the sensations, the life circumstances, they are all temporary phenomena, appearing and disappearing like clouds in the sky. The observing self is the sky itself, ever present, spacious, and completely unharmed by the weather that passes through it. This is the great liberating secret of your being. You are not the storm, you are the sky. You are not the wave, you are the ocean. The weather of your life will constantly change. There will be days of brilliant, cloudless sunshine moments of joy, success, and love. There will be days of gentle rain moments of quiet sadness or melancholy. And there will be days of violent, terrifying storms, moments of grief, of fear, of rage, of failure. The identified self is tossed about by this weather, drenched by the rain, shattered by the lightning. But the sky is never wet by the rain. The sky is never broken by the lightning. The sky is never darkened by the clouds. It is only temporarily obscured. Your true nature, this deep, unbreakable core of awareness, is the sky. The work of your life is not to control the weather. That is an impossible task. The work is to stop identifying with the weather and to remember that you are the vast, eternal sky. Sink deeper with this metaphor. Think of the ocean. Its surface can be a place of utter chaos. Waves can rise to monstrous heights, crashing against each other in a churning, violent foam. A small boat on this surface would be torn to pieces. This is the mind of the identified self, but if you sink just 30 feet below the surface, the chaos vanishes. You enter a world of profound, deep, and unshakable stillness. The immense pressure and silence of the deep ocean is completely undisturbed by the raging storm on the surface. Your unbreakable core is this deep ocean. Your daily thoughts and emotions are the surface weather. You have been living your whole life in a small boat, tossed about on the surface, believing that the waves and the foam are the only reality. The invitation is to let go of the boat and sink into the silent majesty of your own depths. There, you will find a peace that the surface storms cannot touch. To make this shift from the surface to the deep, from the weather to the sky, you must practice the art of disidentification. This practice begins with a simple but revolutionary change in your internal language. The next time you feel a powerful emotion arise, perform this act of delicate psychic surgery. Instead of thinking or saying, "I am sad," pause. Take a breath and rephrase it. "I am aware of a feeling of sadness arising in me." Can you feel the difference? It is seismic. In the first statement, I is equated with sad. They are one and the same. In the second statement, I has been separated from sadness. I has become the observer, the one who is aware of the feeling. You have created a sliver of space between your true self and your temporary experience. In that space lies all your freedom. Practice this with all your inner states. When the voice of the inner critic appears, instead of thinking, "I am a failure," change the language to, "I am noticing a thought that says I am a failure." The thought is still there, but you are no longer fused with it. You are the one who is listening to it, and the one who listens is not the same as the voice that speaks. When you feel a surge of anxiety, instead of, "I am anxious," try, "I can feel the energy of anxiety moving in my body." You become a curious, compassionate scientist observing a phenomenon in your own laboratory rather than the subject of the experiment itself. This is not a word game. It is a fundamental realignment of your identity. It is the practice of pulling your sense of self out of the mud of your fleeting experiences and anchoring it in the bedrock of pure awareness. This unbreakable core is not something you need to build. It is not something you need to achieve. It is already here. It has always been here. It is the silent, aware presence that has been witnessing every moment of your life since you were born. It is the background against which everything has happened. The work is not to create it, but to discover it, to recognize it, and to consciously choose to identify with it. This is the source of true security. The house you have built out of your roles, your accomplishments, and your relationships can and will be shaken by the winds of life. But the sky cannot be shaken. The deep ocean cannot be moved. When you know yourself as this, you find a peace that the world cannot give you, and therefore a peace that the world cannot take away. You become a sanctuary for yourself, a source of quiet strength that is independent of all circumstance. You become unbreakable. For most of your life, you have been looking at the world through a dirty window. You have grown so accustomed to the view that you have forgotten the window is even there. You believe the blurry, distorted image you see is reality itself. This grime is not made of simple dust and dirt. It is a complex residue, accumulated over a lifetime. It is the greasy film of your own anxieties. It is the smudges left by the fingerprints of other people's opinions and expectations. It is the thick soot of your past regrets and future fears. It is the condensation of your restless desires. Living this way, you are not reacting to the world as it is. You are reacting to a dark and distorted projection of it. You mistake a shadow for a monster, a neutral comment for an insult, a minor obstacle for an impassable wall. Your life becomes a series of exhausting battles against phantoms of your own creation. The practices we have explored of caring less, of letting go, of cultivating stillness are not about escaping the world. They are about the simple, profound act of cleaning this window. Every time you choose not to engage with trivialities, you wipe away a layer of dust. Every time you release your need for external validation, you clean off another smudge of opinion. Every time you let go of your attachment to the past or your anxiety for the future, you clear away more of the soot. Every time you relinquish your desperate need for control and accept what is, you wipe away the fog of your own resistance. The work has not been to change the world outside, but to purify the lens through which you see it. And when the lens becomes clear, the world itself is transformed. This gives rise to a conflict between two ways of seeing, the murky view and the clear gaze. The murky view is the perception of the agitated mind. It is a vision clouded by the turbulence of emotion and the self-interest of the ego. It looks at a simple setback and sees a personal failure, a catastrophe. It looks at another person's success and sees a reflection of its own inadequacy. It looks at a quiet moment and sees a threat of boredom. This view is like trying to see your reflection in a boiling pot of water. The image is constantly broken, agitated, and unreliable. It is an exhausting and frightening way to navigate reality, because nothing is ever seen for what it truly is. In contrast is the clear gaze. This is the natural perception of a quiet mind. It is a vision that has been cleansed of the need to interpret everything through the filters of fear and desire. It does not mean you become unfeeling or robotic. It means you develop the capacity to see an event as it is, separate from the story you tell yourself about it. You can see a criticism not as an attack on your entire being, but simply as one person's opinion. You can see a failure not as a final verdict on your worth, but as a data point, a lesson, a stepping stone. The clear gaze is like looking at your reflection in a perfectly still, deep lake. The image is true. It is precise. It is calm. You finally see things, and yourself, as they actually are. The great work is to stop churning the waters of your own mind, to allow the sediment to settle so that this natural clarity can emerge. Herein lies the essential truth. Clarity is not a quality you must add to yourself. It is not a new skill you must acquire or a new light you must find. Clarity is the natural, luminous state of your own consciousness, revealed when the clouds of your attachments and aversions drift away. You do not achieve clarity, you allow it. It is your birthright, obscured by years of mental and emotional clutter. The entire journey of caring less is a journey of subtraction, not addition. It is the process of gently removing all the things that are not you, so that the truth of what you are and the truth of what the world is can shine through. Imagine a landscape after a long drought. The air is thick and heavy with dust. The colors of the world are muted, washed out, covered in a uniform layer of gray. The sky itself is a pale, hazy dome. This is the mind cluttered with incessant, trivial cares. Then a storm comes. Not a violent, destructive storm, but a gentle, steady, cleansing rain. This rain is the practice of letting go. It washes the dust from the air. It cleanses every leaf on every tree. It scrubs the face of every stone. For a time, while it is raining, the view is obscured, but a great purification is taking place. And then, the rain stops. The clouds part. The sun emerges. And the world is reborn. The air is crisp and sharp. The green of the leaves is a vibrant, almost shocking green. The blue of the sky is a deep, endless blue. Every detail of the landscape stands out with a breathtaking, crystalline precision. The world has not changed. The trees are the same, the stones are the same. But your ability to see it has been fundamentally transformed. This is the new clarity of vision. Your practice, now, is not to learn a new technique, but to become a gentle, curious scientist of your own perception. The practice is to simply notice the shift. When you find yourself in a situation that previously would have caused you great anxiety or anger, notice if there is now a small pocket of space, a moment of calm, before your reaction takes hold. This space is the evidence of your new clarity. When you think about your life and your goals, notice if your priorities have begun to change. Are the things that once seemed desperately important, the status, the approval, the frantic acquisition, starting to seem less compelling. Our quieter, deeper, and truer values beginning to emerge as the noise subsides. This is the evidence of your new clarity. When you look at other people, notice if you can see them with a little less judgment. Can you see their struggles, their fears, their humanity, instead of just seeing them as characters in the drama of your life, as either obstacles or allies? This shift in perception is the evidence of your new clarity. To live with this new vision is to live life in high definition. The incessant mental static you had grown accustomed to is gone, and in its place is a clean, clear signal. You begin to distinguish between what is essential and what is trivial. You begin to hear the quiet wisdom of your own intuition, a voice that was previously drowned out by the shouting of your fears and desires. You navigate your life with less friction because you are no longer fighting with distorted phantoms. You are dealing with reality as it is, and you discover that reality, when seen clearly, is far more manageable and far more beautiful than the murky world you once inhabited. By caring less about the infinite noise, you have finally learned to hear the music. By letting go of your need to control and manipulate the world, you have finally learned to see it. This is not just a new way of seeing. It is a homecoming, an arrival at the clear, simple, and profound truth of your own experience. After a long journey, the traveler expects to arrive at a magnificent destination. After a great struggle, the warrior expects to receive a hero's welcome. And after the profound inner work of letting go, of detaching, and of clearing away the debris of a lifetime, the mind expects to arrive at a state of perpetual, shimmering bliss, a shining city on a hill. But the final destination of this path is not a shining city. There is no triumphant fanfare, no grand revelation that will shake the heavens. The final arrival point, the great secret you have been working towards, is the ground you have been standing on all along. The ultimate prize is not a crown, but the simple, rhythmic, and almost unnoticeable miracle of your own breath. The final stage of this journey is the entrance into the quiet, profound, and continuous celebration of simply being. This is perhaps the most difficult teaching to accept, for it defies everything our striving minds have been taught. We are a culture of goal setters, of achievers, of climbers. We need a point, a purpose, a destination for our efforts. The idea that the entire purpose of the arduous journey is simply to learn how to inhabit the journey itself can feel like an anticlimax. The ego, the great storyteller within, desires a dramatic conclusion. It wants a final victory, a clear and measurable achievement. The quiet state of simple being offers none of that. There is no story in it. There is no struggle. There is no then what. And because of this, the mind can mistake this profound peace for boredom, this contentment for complacency. It can stand in the heart of the promised land and still feel the restless urge to set out on another quest, unable to recognize that there is nowhere left to go. This creates the final inner conflict, the last ghost to be released. It is the conflict between the striving mind and the arrived self. The striving mind is the eternal traveler. Even when it has found a measure of peace, it is suspicious of it. It asks, is this it? Is this all there is? It fears that if it stops striving, it will begin to stagnate, to decay. It is addicted to the climb, to the feeling of forward momentum, and it is terrified of the plateau, no matter how beautiful the view. It is the part of you that has so identified with the struggle that it does not know who it is without it. In opposition is the arrived self. This self has undergone a radical shift in understanding. It has realized that the point of the journey was not to get somewhere else, but to arrive fully in the place where it has always been, the present moment. This does not mean it ceases to act, to grow, or to create. But its actions are no longer a desperate attempt to find peace. They are an expression of the peace it has already found. Its growth is no longer a frantic effort to fix a perceived flaw. It is the natural, effortless unfolding of a flower that is already whole. The final letting go is the letting go of the need for the journey to have a destination outside of itself. Here is the truth that allows this final shift to occur. The greatest celebration of your life will not be a loud party, but a quiet, abiding reverence for the miracle of your own existence. The most profound joy is not found in achieving something extraordinary, but in fully and consciously experiencing something irreducibly ordinary. This is the sanctification of the mundane. It is the realization that the universe has performed a staggering, incomprehensible miracle, and the evidence of that miracle is you, breathing, here and now. The purpose of all the clearing away the caring less, the letting go was to remove the noise and distraction so that you could finally perceive this simple, overwhelming, and ever-present truth. Consider the life of a great, ancient tree. It stands in a field, a silent testament to the power of being. It does not strive, it does not hurry, it does not worry about its future or regret its past. It does not celebrate when it grows a new leaf, nor does it despair when one falls in autumn. It does not compare its height to the other trees or its strength to the stones. Its existence is its celebration. Its silent, rooted, patient presence is its triumph. Its quiet, daily work of turning sunlight into life, of drawing water from the earth, of standing with grace through the fury of 1,000 storms and the stillness of 1,000 nights, this is its purpose. It is a continuous, silent hymn of being. The invitation now is to learn to live like this tree, to root yourself in the present moment, to draw your nourishment from the simple elements of your own life, to find your majesty not in what you accomplish, but in the quiet, steady dignity of your own existence. To enter this state, you must practice the art of infusing the mundane with a sacred quality of attention. This is the final practice, and it is the simplest. It is the practice of transforming automatic functions into conscious rituals. Begin with a glass of water. Do not just quench your thirst. Hold the glass in your hands. Feel its coolness, its weight. Watch the light refract through the water. Before you drink, consider the incredible journey this water has taken, through clouds and rain and earth, to be here in your hand. As you drink, do not gulp it down while thinking of something else. Feel the sensation of the cool liquid entering your body. Feel it quenching the thirst of your very cells. Turn this simple act of hydration into a moment of profound communion with the world. When you walk, do not just travel from one point to another. With each step, feel the solid, reliable pressure of the ground beneath your feet. Feel the complex, miraculous mechanics of your own body. The balance, the rhythm, the strength. Feel the air on your skin, the sounds of the world entering your ears. Let each step be a quiet thank you to the earth that supports you and the body that carries you. Let your walking be a form of moving meditation, a celebration of the simple gift of mobility. And finally, return always to the breath. This is the ultimate practice of being. Throughout your day, take a moment to simply become aware of the tide of life flowing in and out of you. It asks nothing of you. It happens without your effort or your control. It is the constant, faithful rhythm of your own aliveness. To place your attention on your breath is to place your attention on the very essence of your being, stripped of all story, all labels, all striving. It is to rest in the isness of your own life. This is not a formal meditation you must set aside time for. It is a continuous opportunity for homecoming, available in every single moment. This is the great arrival. It is not an endpoint, but an entrance into a new way of living. The entire journey was never about becoming someone new. It was about the long, patient process of unbecoming everything that was not truly you, so that you could finally meet the self that has been here all along. By caring less about the noise, you have learned to hear the quiet music of existence. By caring less about the destination, you have learned to inhabit the journey. This quiet, continuous celebration of your own being is the ultimate freedom. It is the peace that passes all understanding. It is the simple, sacred, and unbreakable joy of being alive. We began this journey with an image, a clenched fist squeezing a handful of sand, only to find it slipping faster through the fingers. It was the perfect metaphor for a life spent in anxious, grasping care. Now, our time together ends with a different invitation. Unfurl your fingers, open your hand, see what happens. The sand may rest gently in your palm, or it may be carried away by the wind. It no longer matters, because with an open hand you can finally feel other things. You can feel the warmth of the sun, you can feel the caress of the breeze. An open hand cannot control, but it can receive. It can connect. It can hold another's hand without possessing it. This is the posture of a mind that has learned to care less. It has stopped clinging to outcomes, to opinions, to the frantic need to hold everything together. And in this newfound spaciousness, it discovers it can finally hold what is truly real. The strength and peace you may now feel are not new acquisitions. They are not things you have earned or won. They are the result of a great uncovering, a homecoming to the self that was always there, buried beneath the noise. This journey was never an invitation to apathy. It was not a call to become indifferent to the world. It was a call to become fiercely, wisely discerning. To care less about the static is to finally have the capacity to hear the music. To care less about the trivial is to free your heart to love the essential with a profound and undivided passion. To care less about the phantom battles of the ego is to conserve your sacred energy for the real and beautiful work of living with courage and with grace. This is not a fleeting moment of motivation. It is an awakening. It is the quiet, stunning realization that the sanctuary you were seeking was not a place you had to find, but a space you had to create inside. The peace you were desperately chasing in the world was the very silence you were running from in yourself. The freedom you hoped to gain in the future was always available in the present, obscured only by the anchors of your past and the anxieties for what was to come. You were never lacking. You were simply looking in the wrong direction. The world will continue to be a noisy place. It will always offer you a million things to care about, a million reasons to be anxious, a million battles to fight. Let it. You now have a choice. You now have a quiet center, an unbreakable core, a sanctuary within. You have the wisdom to know what is yours to carry and the grace to let the rest go. Care less. And in that vast, quiet, liberated space, allow yourself to finally, truly become more.